2025 NBA draft. And now the Kings can, of course, focus on Grant Nelson, that 6'9", 6'10" unicorn out of Alabama that I think can be one of these dudes who, again, no all-stars within these last 25 years from the 42nd overall pick, but you got champions, you got dudes that played 10 years in the league, and there's a first time for everything. So, I will find a way to be excited about the NBA draft. Let's look at, he didn't really do much in the playoffs. The lights got a little bit too bright. Hashtag Jared Allen. But look at Quentin Post for the Warriors, right? They got him late in the draft, and hey, let's just take a chance on a 7-footer that shoots threes, and he helped them win some games, and maybe he continues to evolve and kind of go from there. So you never know what you're going to find. In my opinion, you get into the second round. Yeah, Quinn Post went with the 52nd overall pick. Now, I have no clue what he's going to be. He might just be exactly who he is right now. But he came in and was immediately, he was doing it. We saw firsthand at the G1C, at the Golden One Center. So you never know what you could find. Me personally, when you look at some of these past picks, I'm just going in the direction of, I'm going unicorn. Right? Zaza, I'm not taking a Patrick. I guess you can look and say, I'm taking somebody I think can help right now, like a Patrick Beverly or a Bruce Brown, or you can say, I'm swinging big for, a Davis Bertans or a bigger guy that I think can maybe just randomly work. But it feels like, looking at this list and the guys that worked and didn't work, these are supposed to be safer picks. So it's all about how you want to use that pick and what you think makes the most sense. Me personally, I'm swinging for the fences, because why not? Why not? Speaking of swinging for the fences, Eric Martin joins us on the other side to talk about the A's. How can the A's get out of this little rut that they're in and take care of business while back at home at Sutter Health Park? Down south, Sacktown Sports.
There are so many benefits of working with the Overhead Door Company of Sacramento. Now, we chose them to get our new garage doors, and we're so thrilled that we did. They look absolutely amazing. Jason Ross here. And for us, well, we just flat out needed new garage doors. But maybe you do as well, or maybe it's just repairs to your existing doors. Well, the Overhead Door Company of Sacramento can help you with that. It is also a great time of year because this is when homes go on the market. So is yours ready? Well, one thing, don't forget about that garage door, because a new garage door can increase the value of your home. First off, with Curb Appeal, a new modern or stylish garage door can improve the overall appearance of your house. Also, the return on investment. It is one of the most cost-effective upgrades to increase your home value. You can see for yourself. Just visit the showroom off Franklin Boulevard and ask about the Sacktown Sports Special. Overhead Door Company of Sacramento, the genuine, the original overhead door. Always look for the red ribbon logo.
With 25 award-winning years in Northern California, Ashton & Price is your local injury law firm. Pro attorney tip: if a firm presents as local but they're in LA, red flag. If your first consultation is not with a lawyer, big red flag. At Ashton & Price, your first consult is with a local attorney, and if serious injury prevents travel, a lawyer will come to you. Still not enough? George Washington's my uncle. At Ashton & Price, no red flags, just red, white, and blue.
Remember, for the best advice, don't think twice. Call Ashton & Price.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-902-5454. 800-902-5454.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Come check out Capital Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room with the most variety of table games in the region in a safe and friendly environment. Plenty of well-lit parking available, conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. And remember, Capital Casino has the best food, the best service, and the best action. 411 North 16th Street in downtown Sacramento. For more information, log on to capital-casino.com, and please gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
At Big O Tires, now through Memorial Day, get $80 to $120 instant savings on 4 select in-stock Cooper, Nexen, Nitto, or Sumitomo brand tires with installation purchase. Disposal fees extra, not good with other offers. See your locally owned Big O Tires store for pricing.
Your local sports leader in the 916.
KHD 1 Sacramento. KYMX HD3 Sacramento.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios, Sacktown Sports 1140. Your home for Kings Talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
You know what time it is. And if you don't know, now you know. Talking to Coach Eric Martins, third base coach for the Athletics. Coach, how you doing on this fine Tuesday?
I'm doing all right, Ellen. I'm hanging in there. Just enjoying being home for a little bit, so it's good to be back.
It's good to be back. You know, last week, we talked about your spots in LA, but you've been out here in Sacramento for a little bit. I was getting roasted on Friday for a taco take that I had about somewhere I was eating tacos, and people said, Allen, you got to figure it out. Have you found, do you need any recommendations? Have you found some good spots out here in Sacramento just to either hang out or to eat, things like that? Do you need the help of the good Sacramentans out there? What you been doing during your off time?
Off time? What is that, Ellen?
That's also
really
true. That's also true.
I'll tell you what, man. I've really enjoyed the city. I have a place in Midtown, which is cool. So, the weather's getting nice. So I've been riding my scooter to the park, which is good. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. So now I'm gonna might get heckled on the way. But I'll tell you what, man. I haven't really ventured off much. I'm down here in the thick of things, and I've had a couple places. I've eaten at Pazanote a couple times, Italian place. There's a Mexican place. I can't remember, Zocala, I believe. I've had a happy hour there. So I've kind of just mixed around a little bit and tried a couple different places. Went to the Shady Lady the other day with Lewis when we got back from our road trip. So we haven't really had much time, unfortunately. On the off days that we've had, I've actually gone back home from SoCal. So it gives me an opportunity to go back. I saw my mom before Mother's Day. So I flew back and had enjoyed Mother's Day with her before Mother's Day because I wasn't going to be there. So now that we're kind of settling in a little bit, I'm up for recommendations always.
Okay, well, you heard it, everybody. Get Coach Eric Martin some recommendations, and you find yourself back at Shady Lady, you better give me a call because I first drink's on you, but I got you the second one.
Deal. I got you.
So Coach, obviously right now, and it's so funny because us talking week to week in baseball specifically, and we're still pretty early in the season, so much can happen, the ebbs and flows of the season. Last week, we're talking, you're in the last wild card spot. This week, we're talking, and it's been about a 6-game losing streak and a lot of, 3 straight losses by 1 run. What's going on with the team right now, and how do you get back on track?
How the season goes, man. You can be on a hot streak like the Twins won 13 games in a row.
Yeah.
And then you go through these ruts through the season. You go through them probably a couple times. So it's just trusting the process, man. It's we've gone out there and we've lost some 1-run games. We didn't play well in LA. San Francisco, a couple of heartbreakers there. So, I talk a lot. It's like we've played okay. Even when we were playing well, we haven't really hit our stride yet. So we got a streak coming. Yesterday it was good to see Rooker got a couple hits and Law had a couple hits, and getting those guys going and getting the whole team going. It's just whatever this team's capable of doing a lot. So we just got to ride this out right now. You know, I know we're in a little rut, but everyone's staying positive. We understand that this happens during the season. We played well enough early in the year to win some games, found a way to win games without our guys really going off. So, like I said, once this team gets going, it's going to be pretty good.
Talking to Coach Eric Martins, third base coach for the Athletics. And I remember those times, Coach, specifically those one-run games. Does it feel like one of those stretches where, and these can be the most frustrating runs, where one day you hit, but you can't pitch. One day you pitch, but you can't hit. One day you're doing both things right, but somebody boots the ball in the outfield. Does it feel like you're right there, but just one thing has been off during this little stretch?
I mean, you know, yesterday we had an opportunity to score some runs, hit a couple balls hard. If the day is playing the way the play has been playing here in Sacramento, we have a couple home runs yesterday. So it's just one of those things, you know what I mean? And it's baseball, you know, it's baseball. You know, the gods are going to reward you and they're going to take away from you every once in a while. So you just got to trust the process. You know, Law hit a couple balls hard yesterday, hit a ball hard to the third baseman, just happened to find his glove, which could have started an inning for us. Langoliers hit a couple balls hard last night. Seth Brown in the last inning against Kenley Jansen hit the ball right up against the wall. We're on a normal night here. That ball's probably in the berm. So it's just one of those things right now that you just got to ride out. But, you know, our guys understand that. They're putting in the work. No one's frustrated. No one's down. They just understand that this is what's going on right now.
Coach, Jacob Wilson still has a top 5 batting average in Major League Baseball. Now he's hitting second, and we talked about what it means when somebody hits second nowadays. He had that Derek Jeter-esque play from shortstop yesterday. What's his ceiling when you look at some of the elite other shortstops like Bobby Witt Jr., Ellie De La Cruz? Where do you think that Jacob Wilson could fit into all that?
Wilson is like a Dansby Swanson. You know, he's not, and no disrespect to Jacob, but he's not the elite athlete like Bobby Witt Jr., Ellie De La Cruz, right? But you look at Dansby Swanson, he's a technician. He's in the right spot at each time. He's won a Gold Glove. He makes the plays he needs to. He's in the right places. He has the ability to make the play like he did yesterday, going to his left, going across his body. And that's something that we talked about last year going into the offseason, where he had to get a little bit more range and work on his first step quickness, which he's done. And it's a testament to the work that he did this offseason, the work that we did in spring training, the work that he continues to do every single day right now. So you look at him now, he's playing a solid shortstop. He's making plays. He's very instinctual. He's in the spots that we need him to be. And he's turning into a leader in the infield out there, which we need as our shortstop. So really enjoy watching him play right now. He's doing a good job. A lot left of the season. So it's up to me to really kind of maybe scale back a little bit of his workload a little bit as it starts to get hot into the season, but continuing to work and getting better.
Coach, and we have the injury updates and injury reports that we'll put out every week here, and they run, during the commercials and things like that. So I saw that Zach Geloff had kind of had a bit of a setback. That's a name, another dude who flew up to the majors pretty darn quickly, and he was getting close. He was in Las Vegas, then had that setback, and now things are kind of squirrely for him right now. How much are you guys missing somebody like that to kind of just add to the mix when certain guys are a bit hot and cold in the lineup?
Yeah, it's crazy because you forget about Zach Geloff. I mean, I know we haven't forgot about Zach Geloff,
right,
but you forget about Zach Geloff and the athlete that he is, the things that he's a 20-20 guy who plays really good defense, very athletic, steals bases, has power, an important part of our lineup. And, what he did 2 years ago was something short of magnificent when he first came up, So had a little bit of a sophomore slump last year, but made some good adjustments this offseason, was looking good in spring training, ready to go. So he's definitely missed, but I tell you what, Luis Arias has stepped in and filled in nicely for him, and which is good to see him do that. If we had a big hole at second base, I don't think we'd be where we're at without Luis right now, but Zach Geloff is definitely missed, and when he gets back and he gets back into this lineup, it just only makes us better.
Coach, trade season is upon us. Like we said, you blink and the season is rocking and rolling. I know that the A's handled it last season with Mason Miller, but we're already seeing, Kyle and I were joking yesterday, we're already seeing Paul Skeens trade talks, and this brother hasn't even played 2 seasons with the Pirates. Do you feel like the team as a whole and the organization is kind of prepared for Mason Miller's name being thrown around? I mean, the guy it's literally video game. Nowadays, everybody throws 98. Then you watch Mason Miller, he's throwing 104. Do you feel like everybody is prepared for the trade talks with Mason Miller that are bound to come up again?
I mean, it's always going to happen. You know, you get a guy that's one of the elite closers in the game, and you get these teams who are willing to part with certain prospects. They're always going to come up. They came up last year. They came up the year before when he was starting. They came up. They're always going to come up, right? And guys are always going to think that the A's are going to be selling during the trade deadline. And I'll tell you what, man, I mean, I think we're in a different position now where we're probably looking to add, hopefully, which would be great, right? And when we're looking to add, that means that, you know, we're doing pretty good, and our front office think that we have a chance to make a playoff run, and that's the expectation here. So, you know, Mason Miller's name is going to be thrown around all the time because he's one of the best, and, you know, all these rumors that are going to be floating around are all but false, you know. So I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, and I can't say 100%, but I can envision Mason Miller closing games for us in September and hopefully beyond.
Coach, just to kind of follow up on that, because we've been talking about it here on the show, if you were to add, my assumption would be you'd be looking in the starting pitcher, relief pitcher, just pitchers in general category. Do you think that is kind of where you'd be looking?
Well, you're always looking for arms, right? You're always trying to make yourself better and make your team better. And it starts with starting pitching, you know, and if there's somebody out there that can help, you know, I don't have a problem with our rotation right now. It's a little banged up, but, you know, we have a couple of young guys in there, but we also have some guys coming that can help. So, you know, whatever the front office decides to do and whatever they decide to add would be a welcome addition to our team that's only going to help us achieve our goals.
You know, as you bring that up, Coach, it did make me think about the, I guess, distribution of players and positions on the A's, right? You look at Brent Rooker, who he'll DH a lot, or he'll be in one of the corners, mostly right field. I saw Lawrence Butler in center a couple days ago, but he's mostly right field. You have the situation with Tyler Soderstrom, Nick Kurtz, all at first base, and, you know, a couple different second basemen that you're rotating through while you wait for Zach Geloff to get back. Does it feel like, even though you have a ton of talent, that talent is not dispersed as evenly as maybe you would like, or does it not feel like it's that big of a deal?
I don't think it's that big of a deal. We got a lot of a lot of moving parts, interchangeable parts, people that can go in and fill in different spots, and it doesn't affect our team very much. You know, you've seen Andujar get a lot of time at third base. He's mainly been a left fielder, but he's played there before. He's also had some time at first base. You look at Max Schumann, who's got 19 different gloves. You could just plug and play him wherever you need him, and he comes in and does a solid job. Urias is a second baseman now, but he came up as a shortstop and played a lot of third base over the years. So that's what makes our team pretty special. And there's a lot more depth this year than we've had in the past. And moving those parts around doesn't change the dynamic of our team. So I think when we go out there and we plug and play and put guys in different positions, we're not really worried about, you know, what's going to happen because those guys are solid contributors.
Coach, you know, they talk about positionless basketball. I like to say nowadays it's positionless baseball, and that's what the A's have going on. Thank you so much, Coach Eric Martins, third base coach for the A's. Always good talking to you. And this was a good one, Coach. They're always good, but I really enjoy this one. Maybe I'll get the first round of Shady Lady just because of it.
I like that. I like that idea better. You let me know, and I'm there.
All right, Coach. We'll talk to you soon. Good luck tonight.
All right, take care. I appreciate it.
That was Coach Eric Martins, third base coach for the Athletics. When we return, which team should the Kings model themselves after? And, oh, by the way, the 2024-2025 NBA All-Rookie teams are out. Who made the cut, and who could have been on the Kings? Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers. T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/55 to learn more. With 24 monthly bill credits and 2 new lines with autopay for well-qualified customers, plus taxes, fees, and $35 per line connection charge. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. Contact us, plus $5 per line without autopay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/SacktownSports1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
Thanks to Coach Eric Martins, as always. Like I said, I mean, he really dropped some gems in that one. We've been talking about how the A's have a bunch of first baseman, second baseman, kind of corner guys, and he said we have more than that. Also said that the A's are looking to add. He said they may be looking to add, I should say it that way. So Mason Miller, again, should be safe for all you A's fans out there. And if you're not an A's fan, sorry, but 104 miles per hour should be staying in Sacramento. That's going to be up on the YouTube page. We are back on YouTube, by the way, if you're driving. And obviously the app is a great tool to use. But if you want to see Kyle and I's pretty faces, the YouTube is back up. So
come on, Sack Chatters.
Yeah, come on back in to the Sack Chat. And thank you to Kyle and our engineers for figuring all of that out. But
and Chris Verlod.
And Chris Verlod. Thanks again to and thanks to Chris Verlod. He brings in donuts and on Fridays and doesn't ask for anything in return. So shout out Chris Verlod.
So thank you first for the donuts and
That's right.
second for fixing the YouTube.
That's right. And again, thanks to Eric Martins. Great stuff. And that will be up on our platforms shortly. So about to talk about how the Kings can build this team. As I said, that's kind of the theme today. What path do you want to choose? We would always talk about the Nuggets path, but that path, that might be done themselves, right? And maybe it's not. Maybe the Kings can keep it going. But I wanted to read off the NBA All-Rookie teams simply because it's going to annoy some people. And it might annoy me. Let's see who it is. First team, the untouchable, the unbreakable, the rookie of the year, Stephon Castle of the San Antonio Spurs. The rest of the first team, Zachary Rissache, Sacramento's own Jalen Wells. Where did Jalen Wells go? He went in the second round, but where did he go? He clearly wasn't 42nd.
30 something.
Late 30s, yeah.
Is 37 maybe? Something like that.
Kyle's boy, Jalen Wells, who they didn't hoop together, but they were both at the same court.
I hooped with his buddies.
That's right.
But yeah, he showed up at our weekly basketball game last week.
Zach Edey and Alex Sarr round out the first team. Second team, this is where things can maybe get a little bit dicey for you based on who you wanted on the Kings. Matas Buzelis, Bub Carrington, Donovan Clingan, Khalil Ware, and Yves Missi. Let me start here. How much do all rookie teams matter? We could probably find some bad names on all rookie teams, right?
Well, there's always the famous one. I'm just going to pull it up real quick to make sure. But Marvin Bagley was all rookie first team once upon a time.
Yeah, and Michael Carter Williams was a rookie. Michael Carter Williams was rookie of the year, if I'm not mistaken, Giannis's year.
Yes, this is the one. I remember.
That's the one.
Yes, this is the one that I will always laugh at, which is the 2018-19 all rookie NBA team. First team featured Luka Doncic, Trae Young, DeAndre Ayton, Jaren Jackson Jr., and one Marvin Bagley III. The second team featured, Kevin Huerter, Mitchell Robinson, Landry Shamet, Colin Sexton, guys still in the NBA. And then there's one other name here. I'm I think that says Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Wow.
Not sure who that is. But yes, Marvin Bagley made all-NBA first team or all-rookie first team over Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in their season.
There you go. So, I mean, obviously it's better to say you have somebody on it than you don't, but it doesn't really have a huge bearing. I guess if you look at it, most guys who I'm just trying to make myself feel better about Devin Carter. That's what it is. And I guess with Devin Carter, you can just say, well, he didn't play till January, so he was never going to be on either of these lists.
I also love this one is that the year after it was Ja Morant, Zion Williamson, and Eric Paschall on the all-NBA all-rookie first team.
That must have been when he was cooking when the Warriors were just
That is correct. That was the 2020 season. There's a lot of funny ones on here, but I think the answer is some bearing, but it's not totally indicative of what your career is going to be.
It's kind of similar to Summer League, right? Or the G League, if you will. It would be better if you are on it, but it doesn't mean you're cooked if you're not on it.
I think it means you're very good if you're on it. I think it means relative to your draft class, you are very good, and every draft class basically has 2 or 3 all-stars in it. So I guess if one of your players is on the all-rookie team, you feel like you have a pretty good shot of them being a future all-star, or at least you feel good about your chances.
Unless that, and we talked about the Michael Carter Williams. Can you look up the first and second team from that draft? Because I'm sure that one has some terrible ones.
Giannis was on the second team with famous names such as Cody Zeller, Kelly Olynyk, Gorgui Dieng, and Steven Adams. The first team was Michael Carter Williams, Victor Oladipo, Mason Plumlee, Trey Burke, Tim Hardaway Jr.
Okay, so that's a good way to look at this, right? Essentially, if you go through all of the different all NBA or all NBA rookie teams, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be a star if you're on it, but it kind of means that you're probably going to be an NBA player, which is a low bar if we're talking about a first round pick. But a lot of these guys that are on all rookie teams at least weren't complete busts. They might not have lived up. Like, did Anthony Bennett even make the all rookie team?
Let's see. 2013, he did not.
Yeah. So basically, if you're looking busty, if you're not on a rookie team.
You're looking what?
You're looking. If you're on a rookie team, it doesn't mean that you'll be a star, but it means that you'll probably have at least somewhat of a career in the NBA.
Right. It means you had to have had a good season or some really weird circumstances. And that's the Michael Carter Williams thing. Is like he won Rookie of the Year because he was playing on a Sixers team that became famous for the poster children of tanking.
And that draft class was terrible. It was both.
In hindsight, you know what is interesting about that is on that 2014 team, which is the Michael Carter Williams and Giannis draft, Rudy Gobert is not on either team, but Rudy Gobert ended up becoming 4-time Defensive Player of the Year center. So I think that's kind of part of it too, is like if you're Cody Zeller, who was the 4th pick in the draft, you kind of expect to be an all-NBA second teamer because you were the 4th pick in your draft. But if you're Rudy Gobert, who was the 27th pick and was a little bit of a later bloomer, maybe you're not expected to have the same level of impact. It's a fascinating experiment, at least.
Yeah, and look, all right, we have to do it. You look at the guys that the Kings could have had and didn't. Obviously, the 2 names that stick out, Yves Missi and Khalil Ware. Jalen Wells, to me, that's just something where nobody really saw that coming. But Khalil Ware and Yves Missi, to me, those are guys where, it at least should have been. And I'm not saying it wasn't a conversation, but to me, he wasn't my number one guy, obviously. And think about it like this. Some of the names that I complained about, okay, Tejan Salon was terrible, right? And on a bad team. Dalton Connect, obviously he didn't get a ton of opportunities, so he didn't make the team.
Tristan da Silva.
The other thing, Tristan da Silva, who did get some opportunities, but just, he could not shoot. Cody Williams was awful. He couldn't shoot either.
Well, the thing is, with the nerd stats say Bub Carrington stunk this year, so Bub Carrington might be the Michael Carter-Williams of this team because Bub Carrington was just putting up numbers on a terrible team.
The last note on this is how many of these guys were on bad teams, right? I think that's important. Obviously, Dalton Knecht was on the 3 seed, and they also tried to trade him. So Dalton Knecht, obviously, he didn't get a lot of opportunities, and you have injury, and you have, hey, these guys are weirdly on good teams. So Stephon Castle, bad team. Zachary Rasache, okay team. Mid-team. Jalen Wells, mid-team. And Zach Edey, mid-team. Alex Sarr, bad team. Matas Buzelis, mid-team. Bud Carrington, bad team. Donovan Clingan, bad team. Khalil Ware, mid-team. Yves Missi, bad team.
I mean, that's kind of what you're going to find with a lot of these. My kind of takeaway from it is the Grizzlies nailed it. I mean, their first-round pick and second-round pick made all-rookie first team. The other one that's interesting on here is that the possible best player in that draft class isn't on the list, and that's Jared McCain. But we'll see what ends up happening with his career. Because I look at that whole rookie class, and I'm like, if there's any dude that's going to be a future, 20, 25-point-a-game guy, it's probably Alex Sarr, and it's probably Jared McCain. Those are probably the two. And maybe Rasache. He came on late in the season. Yeah,
and obviously McCain everybody thought he was going to win Rookie of the Year. He goes down with ACL. So he'll be back, and we'll see what Devin Carter does. Would it be crazy for them to do a second year? They already got too many awards, but like a second year follow-up.
Sophomore.
Yeah, an all sophomore. Not even an all sophomore team. Just do not. You don't need first and second. Just all sophomore team. Just one.
All right,
first and second.
Let's do a version of that now. Let's look at the 2024 class and just see where they're at now.
Okay.
So you've got Victor Wembanyama.
Sure, he's the poster child.
Sure. Chet Holmgren.
He'd be on it, I'd say.
Brandon Miller.
And Chet's weird because he had that injury, right?
Yeah.
Brandon Miller, no injury.
Jaime Jaquez.
No.
He was not good this year.
Yeah.
And then the last one is Podziemski.
Because, I don't know, because he played a lot.
So here's the contenders beyond that also. You've got Amin Thompson, Derek Lively, Keontae George, Kaysen Wallace with the Thunder, G.G. Jackson.
Because I do think, and obviously Amin Thompson would be right behind Wembanyama, honestly. But I do think there is something to be said about, hey, now we know what this guy likes to do. And did this guy avoid, what's more impressive? Balling out when nobody knows who you are, which is impressive, or being able to sustain it and changing based on now there's a scouting report on you. If you look at Keegan Murray, right? Oh man, Keegan Murray, rookie year, he balled out, right? And he must have been all rookie.
He was first team,
yes.
Yeah,
first team all rookie. And then that sophomore season, who avoided the sophomore slump? I think that would be interesting.
Well, it's also different based on age, right? Because Keegan's a rookie at 22
right.
versus in his draft class, Paolo Banchero is 19 and winning Rookie of the Year.
Way over time. When we return, it is time. 22 years old, can jump out the gym, and he ain't too far. Kyle has cooked up the master plan to get this guy out to Sacramento. Allen Stiles, Sacramento Sports.
Sacramento weather is brought to you by Fidium Fiber.
I'm Tamara Berg in the KCRA 3 Weather Center. For your Tuesday, we're looking at a comfortable morning. Headed into the afternoon, temperatures feeling a bit warmer. We'll have less wind today with plenty of sunshine, and afternoon highs will peak in the low 90s. Get the latest forecast on the KCRA 3 News and the KCRA 3 app.
It's about time they
fixed that pothole.
Invented better windshield wipers.
Made an internet that just works. Fidium Fiber Internet, starting at only $30 a month. It feels like Fidium. Offer available to residential customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See Fidium.com for details.
At Power Business Technology, we're not another big box corporation. We're your neighbors, locally owned and operated. We know what businesses like yours need, from reliable printers to high-performance copiers. We'll help you find the right solution with personal service you just can't get online. Need setup or support? We're just down the road and always happy to help. Power Business Technology, family hometown service with big-time solutions. Contact us today for all your business printing needs at 844-POWER-BZ. That's 844-769-3729 or visit us at powercopiers.com.
The Hagen Oaks Cutting Edge Putter Fitting Studio offers you more technology, more choices, and more service. Hagen Oaks wants to be your go-to total golf game fitter. With $30,000 worth of state-of-the-art technology ready for your fitting, Hagen Oaks will help you make your best putting stroke while finding the best putter design, shape, hosel, length, and loft for your game. Schedule your fitting at the Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio by calling 916-808-2531. That's 808-2531 for more.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head, and the total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
With 25 award-winning years in Northern California, Ashton & Price is your local injury law firm. Pro attorney tip: if a firm presents as local but they're in LA, red flag. If your first consultation is not with a lawyer, big red flag. At Ashton & Price, your first consult is with a local attorney, and if serious injury prevents travel, a lawyer will come to you. Still not enough? George Washington's my uncle. At Ashton & Price, no red flags, just red, white, and blue.
Remember, for the best advice, don't think twice. Call Ashton and Price.
Skeeter here. Got a question. What's small and dark with white bands on its legs and bites during the day?
Mosquitoes. Hi, I'm Luz Maria Robles, but these are 2 new types of day-biting mosquitoes. They're invading our area and becoming a big problem.
And they can be dangerous.
But we're on it, so when you see them, report it at fightthebite.net. In the meantime, use insect repellent and drain stagnant water around your yard.
We're here to help with these day-biting mosquitoes.
Visit us at fightthebite.net.
Want the best movie experience in town? Join Sacktown Sports IMAX Pass by visiting sacktownsports.com. Sign up today. You can win tickets to see this week's films at the Esquire IMAX Theater.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140.
on Sacktown Sports.
Like we said, 11:30 on the dot. And this was one of the easiest ones to guess. Number 1, I said it on social media. Number 2, we've been teasing it for about 2 months now. And today is the day we talk Johnathan Kuminga. Johnathan Kuminga, one of the most fascinating. Can we still call him a prospect? Is that
He's
okay?
22 years old.
Yeah, one of the most fascinating players.
He's younger than Devin Carter.
Players / we can't. I'm still trying to get over the all rookie teams. Please, Kyle, please. As we look at what Johnathan Kuminga has done throughout his career, one of the more confusing situations. He is a project that went to a team that didn't have time to work on the project. We've seen that before. And this season, he dealt with a ton of injuries. He only played 47 games. In those 47 games, Johnathan Kuminga averaged 15.3 points per game, 4.6 rebounds per game, 2.2 assists on 45% from the field, 30% from 3, 66% from the free throw line. This kid is raw. This kid has some raw talent. He can jump out the gym. He can do some things defensively. Still trying to find his way. I think he's a better one-on-one defender than a team defender right now. But the reality is, and you know, there was a video going around of him and Joe Lacob kind of chumming it up together, and Joe Lacob has been very vocal as to how much he likes Johnathan Kuminga, and he was an advocate to draft Johnathan Kuminga. I think personally they just really liked his hyper athleticism, and that's something that the Warriors haven't had since Jason Richardson, right? Steph is one of the best players of all time, but, they haven't really had a Skywalker like Johnathan Kuminga, but doesn't really fit what Steve Kerr's trying to do. And Steve Kerr was very interesting after the Warriors lost. Steve Kerr almost sounding like he was trying to plead his case to Johnathan Kuminga to stay, as he said that he would give more runway to Jimmy Butler and Johnathan Kuminga playing together. I don't see how that's going to work with neither of them being able to shoot the basketball from the three-point range right now. So, we'll see what happens there. People were all convinced that Johnathan Kuminga was out the door, and then the Valkyrie game happens. Johnathan Kuminga is sitting next to Joe Lacob, and they're laughing, having a good old time, and now a lot of people are saying, well, maybe he does stay. But let's assume that he doesn't, because I still don't see it happening. A lot of people want to obviously, Warrior fans want to throw him in to a Giannis deal or something like that. The report was, and we talked to Greg Swartz yesterday, the report was, and it was great information because not even I had really heard what the deal was. Apparently, Johnathan Kuminga was looking for $30 million. And by the way, hang on for our Brock Purdy conversation, because Adam Schefter dropped a banger earlier today about what Brock Purdy initially asked for. But back to Kuminga. Kuminga apparently was looking for $30 million a year. And the Warriors said, you're out of your mind. You're not getting $30 million a year. And nobody, as you can go into restricted free agency, nobody is paying that for you. He then only plays 47 games. And Johnathan Kuminga, look, you go into these negotiations, and we all do it. Hey, well, I think I'm worth this. And your employer says, I'm glad you think that, but we're not paying you that. And I don't think anybody else. Maybe you could go find somebody else to pay you that, which is what the Warriors said. And Johnathan Kuminga is not getting $30 million. So that brings us to what Johnathan Kuminga can get in the market, right? Via a sign and trade situation, and what we think he's worth and what you'd be able to give up for Johnathan Kuminga. So, Kyle, let's get right on into it. What is the situation with Johnathan Kuminga, and what have you cooked up to get the young Skywalker to Sacramento?
So after the Warriors first got eliminated from the playoffs, you tried to have the vision, the belief that somehow the Kings would be able to move Zach LaVine in order to get off of to get Johnathan Kuminga.
Yes, that
visions are clear.
Yeah, that was a mistake. That was a mistake.
If they gave him the $30 million a year, then they could do it. Mm-hmm. I don't think they would. Maybe they would do it just so they don't have to pay Zach LaVine. But besides the point, more realistically is they would move one of their secondary pieces financially to make it work. The first thing we have to figure out, though, is what is the most you, Allen Stiles, not what you think he's going to get, not what the market will say he's get. What is the most you would be willing to pay per year for Johnathan Kuminga? What is the top dollar? This is the most we can offer value.
I'm looking here just as a kind of a measuring stick as I see some of the names out here. John Collins getting 25, and a lot of people think that's a bad contract. Draymond's getting 25. Obviously, we know, and Terry Rozier's getting 24. So it's a bit confusing, right? A DeAndre Hunter, who I think is better than Johnathan Kuminga, but he is older. DeAndre Hunter is only 24, but that's for a different day. I just don't know that I can get past about $23 million.
23 per year. So that'd be.
I don't know. 25 feels like a lot. I know there's some bad contracts out there, but I don't want to give them a bad contract.
So 4 year, $100 million is where you're like, whoa. Let's chill here.
Yes, that feels like a lot to me. It feels like a lot for the most part. Then I look at, again, Nick Claxton getting 24, and I'm okay. And then you see John Collins at 25. Okay, but those are not good contracts.
Sure, but it could be a Dennis Schroeder situation where it's like, hey, the best offer on the table is 4 years, $78 million.
Right.
And the Warriors have no reason to offer him more because they
Right.
can just match whatever the other team
So you're
throws
saying you
out
got
there.
to outbid the Warriors a little bit.
No, not the Warriors. You have to outbid. You have to outbid the other teams. Again, I don't know. Is it going to be the Nets? Is it going to be Washington? I don't know who's in the Kuminga game, but you have to outbid those teams and then have it be a number that the Warriors would be okay letting him go for. But again, in this situation, the Warriors are getting something back in return. If it's the Nets can offer him 4 years, $100 million, and just sign him into cap space. They don't need, the Warriors sign and trade permissions, essentially. The Kings just have to outbid the Nets and anyone else who wants to get in on the Kuminga game.
Let's just assume that 23 will get it done.
All right. So if we say 4 years, 92, that's $23 million a year. Ultimately, for sign and trade purposes, the only thing that matters is the first year. So you can kind of coordinate it from there. If we average it at 23, then the Kings could flip Malik Monk, the pizza guy.
I'm a pizza guy.
For Johnathan Kuminga, and then they would have to include let's say top 10 protected first round pick. So a play in.
Why? Because
Kuminga's
22.
Kuminga's better than Malik Monk value wise, probably. If Kuminga's getting 23 and Malik just signed for 18, the market's telling you that Kuminga's better than Malik Monk. So the Kings would have to throw in a play-in tournament protected first-round pick to the Warriors.
Not this again, man.
So, anyways, to make it work without having to include another player, his contract has to be between like 11 and 26 million in the first year, and they can trade him for Malik Monk straight up.
Do you do it? 916-339-1140. Let's keep the conversation going. Will I say yes or no to Kyle's proposed deal? Kyle, one more time for everyone listening.
Sign and trade Johnathan Kuminga for 4 years, $92 million. And in exchange, the Kings send to Golden State Malik Monk and a play-in protected first-round pick next year.
Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Carmichael Dave here for my good friends at American Energy. As a native Sacramentan, I can tell you, not that you need to know, that it might be nice right now, but turn the corner and oh my God, it's so hot. Yeah, summer is coming. And my friends at American Energy want to make sure you are dialed with your AC unit. So how about this half off tune-up right now? It's a special going on, just $24.50 to get your air conditioner tuned up. A free diagnostic. And oh, by the way, if you need a new AC unit, up to $3,500 in rebates on qualifying system installations. That's right. They've been serving the greater Sacramento area since 1981. A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Give them a call, 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990. Here's the song.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Mike Rowe here with a quick question. Is your concrete sinking? Whether it's your driveway, sidewalk, or patio, those uneven surfaces are not just ugly, they're dangerous. That's where Groundworks comes in. They use state-of-the-art concrete lifting solutions to prevent tripping hazards, and they're the best at what they do. Schedule your free inspection at groundworks.com/row. And while you're there, check out my latest dirty job. It's a good one.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
San Francisco! What a laser from Brock Purdy, and what a catch.
San Francisco 49ers single game tickets are available now.
Intercepted by Fred Warner. Fred gets up and runs back the other way. One block and he's in. Gonna throw left for the end zone. It's caught by George Kittle.
Secure your seats at 49ers.com/tickets.
Touchdown!
I'm Ken Korak with your Green and Gold Report, brought to you by Comcast Business, powering possibilities. Well, with second baseman Zach Geloff having spent the entire year on the IL, the A's offseason acquisition of Luis Urias as a free agent has turned out to be a shrewd move. As of the end of the last homestand, Urias had started 20 consecutive games at second base, hitting 4 home runs, including a walk-off against the White Sox, and his OPS almost 830. Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. It's how retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing must-visit shops. And it's how healthcare offices become data-managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business.
There are so many benefits of working with the Overhead Door Company of Sacramento. Now, we chose them to get our new garage doors, and we're so thrilled that we did. They look absolutely amazing. Jason Ross here. And for us, well, we just flat out needed new garage doors. But maybe you do as well, or maybe it's just repairs to your existing doors. Well, the Overhead Door Company of Sacramento can help you with that. It is also a great time of year because this is when homes go on the market. So is yours ready? Well, one thing, don't forget about that garage door, because a new garage door can increase the value of your home. First off, with Curb Appeal, a new modern or stylish garage door can improve the overall appearance of your house. Also, the return on investment. It is one of the most cost-effective upgrades to increase your home value. You can see for yourself. Just visit the showroom off Franklin Boulevard and ask about the Sacktown Sports Special. Overhead Door Company of Sacramento, the genuine, the original overhead door. Always look for the red ribbon logo.
Sacramento Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has the biggest selection, the best prices, and unbeatable customer service. Check them out online, sacksuperstore.com, for the guaranteed lowest price on Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Open until 10 o'clock and right across from Hagen Oaks Golf Course. sacksuperstore.com.
Live and local.
It's Allen Stiles
On Sactown Sports.
You want Johnathan Kuminga? It's going to cost you. Now, Kyle only has one trade to get it done today, so he's making it especially tough.
Well, I assume no one wants to trade Keegan for Kuminga.
No, nobody wants to do that.
Exactly.
So before the break, our trade target, Kyle, proposed a trade where the Kings would give up Malik Monk and a 2026 first-round pick that is top 10 protected. Basically, miss the play-in. You make the play-in, you lose the pick.
Or win the lottery.
Or win the lottery. So it's probably gone. And we are asking whether or not you would do that deal. Me personally, I'm not doing that deal unless it's time to rebuild. That's where I'm at. I don't see how Johnathan Kuminga at 22 years old, it would be great to have young talent, but I don't know what it would look like with Johnathan Kuminga and Domantas Sabonis. I don't know how that would work. He doesn't distribute the basketball. He's essentially got a fastball, right? We were joking about Colin Kaepernick earlier this week and how Colin Kaepernick couldn't really throw fades because he just had a fastball, right? And it was really good fastball, but that's all he has. Johnathan Kuminga, can get downhill, and it's beautiful to watch. But he's essentially, and that's why people joke and call him Baby Giannis. That's who he is. So if I'm doing this deal, you should probably just move Domantas Sabonis next and get more young talent and essentially start a rebuild, which could be headlined by Johnathan Kuminga. But I don't know if I'm giving up Malik Monk and a first rounder. I don't know how much Johnathan Kuminga helps this team. That's my holdup.
So in this situation, let's say Levine is the number one. They bring in a point guard who can score, but is maybe older. DeJounte Murray's just kind of the plug-in that we use. Do you think they would be better served Because Malik obviously wouldn't be on the team anymore, so he's not the number 3. Would they be better served trying to develop Kuminga as a number 3, or see if Keegan Murray is worth playing at that number 3? Because at this point, they're theoretically extending both of them. They're saying Kuminga is our 3 of the future, and Keegan is our 4 of the future, and we're going to see how they play off of each other.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that lineup, right? So it would be Sabonis, Keegan, Zach LaVine, and Kuminga.
And then a point guard.
Yeah, I mean, you have definitely different gears that you can go to. To me, it's just Kuminga is still so raw. I don't know that he's going to be able to evolve. And again, what are we attempting to do? So Kuminga's getting our hey, let's feed Kuminga the basketball, and Keegan, okay, well, that sounds like you're essentially rebuilding and focusing on those two guys. Or it's, no, Zach LaVine, you still need to take 20 shots a game, and whatever Domantas Sabonis wants to do offensively, then it's, okay, well, what's up with, how are we going to get Keegan there and Kuminga there? I just think that move doesn't really make you better as far as actually competing. I don't think that team is going to the playoffs.
You're just banking on Kuminga can one day be a number 3. Because essentially, if you're handing out the $23 million contract, you're saying he's going to be our number 3. Mm-hmm. And in an offense with Domantas Sabonis, you're essentially saying he's going to be your number 2.
Right now. And I don't think he's ready right now.
Or at least that's what you're paying him for, right? Because next year you have the buffer of Keon Ellis, right? Once, again, if you make this move, once Keon Ellis is either gone or also getting $15 million a year, then all of a sudden you have to make room for all of those people. Or, like you said, we're just rebuilding, and, you know, Kuminga can be a number 2, Keegan can be a number 3, Keon Ellis can play. Doesn't matter because we're not trying to compete right now.
I mean, look, you know what? If you're getting him on a 4-year deal, I will kind of counter my own argument and say this. To your point, maybe this is the realistic path for them to quote unquote rebuild, but Vivek doesn't know that they're rebuilding, right? How about that? So it's, hey, we have Johnathan Kuminga on a 4-year deal. Okay. You give that a go for about 2 years. You extend Keegan, and clearly you have those two guys, right? Zach LaVine is going to opt in, so you have 2 years there. Zach LaVine it is who he is. There'll be days where he scores 40 against the Hornets and days where he just kind of chills. So you're going into this season thinking these seasons thinking this is about Keegan Murray, getting Keegan Murray there. We just extended him, and Johnathan Kuminga. Zach LaVine's going to be gone in 2 years. And when Zach LaVine's gone, we can, with that $47 million gone, we will have had 2 years where we have pushed Keegan to the forefront, pushed Johnathan Kuminga to the forefront. Now we have about $50 million to play with and bring in somebody that we think, based on those 2 years, will help those guys. And then at that point in time, we can make a decision. Maybe Domantas Sabonis says he wants out. Who knows? There's now only 2 more years left on Domantas Sabonis' contract. And he can make a decision where, hey, do you like what we're doing here? Do you not like it? If you want out, we can have that conversation. You're 30 years old now, so it's a great time for it. So that would be an argument. Again, the argument is I'm against it if it's about let's get to a 5 seed or a 4 seed. I'm for it if it's about we're kind of hybrid tearing it down without people knowing. We're just going to not be that good for 2 years, get LaVine off the books. Maybe LaVine has a career year next season and it works out.
Or maybe we extend LaVine at $20 million a year.
Sure, which has been talked about with Sam Amick and others, right? I think with Howard Beck and others. And you see what happens with Domantas Sabonis, and you're able to bring some other pieces in. I can kind of talk myself into it. I'm just not into it if it's about let's get to that 4 or 5 seed. I don't think the Kings are doing that, but I would be okay with it if the understanding is, look, maybe we get lucky and Zach LaVine has a career season and Kuminga takes that leap immediately, and same with Keegan Murray. But this is really about pushing those two guys to the forefront who are recently extended, and in 2 years, we believe this is going to pay out for us.
Right, and this whole hypothetical that you've just outlined is contingent on Kuminga becoming a 22-point-per-game scorer who shoots 50% from the field, 35% from three, and can do that on a consistent basis, because people don't recognize it this way because it doesn't feel like it, but the gap between being a 16-point-per-game scorer in the NBA and a 21-point-per-game scorer in the NBA is the difference between, you know, being able to compete for a play-in spot and being potentially out of the playoffs altogether. The margins are so thin. We just saw it this past year. De'Aaron Fox was a 26-point-per-game scorer. Zach LaVine was a 22-point-per-game scorer with better efficiency numbers, and everyone universally agrees the Kings lost that trade.
Yeah.
So these gaps are not as close as they may seem, and the whole thing is predicated on Kuminga making that leap from a 16-point-a-game guy, a number 4 on a good team, to being a number 3 or number 2 on a really good team. And you could say the same thing for Keegan. I just think we all agree that Kuminga has a higher offensive ceiling than potentially Keegan does.
I would agree. It would be something or someone, and this is why the Warriors drafted him, that the Kings haven't had in a while as far as just a pure athletic specimen that can do some things offensively with room to grow. And he's only 22. Like you said, he's younger than Devin Carter. So the Kings got to get younger. Whitey Gleason has talked about the Kings getting younger. And if you can't do it through the draft, would you rather trade a future draft pick for a gamble, right? Even though it might not cost you money, for a gamble in a draft for a low first round pick, or trade somebody in who you kind of know what he is in Malik Monk. Maybe you're able to talk the Warriors out of that top 10 protected pick, whatever the case may be, for somebody that is a bit proven. Because we still don't know Kuminga's. If the Nets, I keep saying, if the Nets get Giannis, they're not looking at Johnathan Kuminga. So that's another team that would be out of that conversation, and you kind of just go from there. So I think I might have convinced myself into it if you're prepared to not be terribly good for the next couple seasons. And the argument is, and I think somebody said on the text line, Allen, I already don't think they're going to be good the next couple of seasons. So what are we actually talking about?
Right, and it's not that big of a gamble, right? A 25, unless Kuminga just falls off the face of the earth, a $23 to $25 million a year player is not this immovable contract either. It's not,
especially if you're in Sacramento. Look what we've seen some contracts here.
You can pigeonhole him as a number 4 if you have to, and move him to somewhere else if it goes bad. But you're making the point that, say it works immediately, and he's your number 3, and you have LaVine, and you have Sabonis, and now Keegan, it opens up the offense a little more for him, and he shoots 40% from 3. Maybe they say, Keegan, go back to just spot-up shooting. Yeah. Then maybe the time is, okay, next summer, we have to convince Sabonis that this thing is going to work. Now we make the big all-in trade, throw caution into the wind, get a third all-star, and see if we can make this thing work. That's kind of the best case scenario if you take the risk.
And look, I know they don't play the same position exactly because of how they play, but okay, you wanted, I know it was a different regime, but you wanted to go out and get Devin Carter. If you move Malik Monk, now let's see if Devin Carter can actually play basketball. So I think I'm in. I think I've convinced myself to be in, because what are we doing these next couple seasons anyway? Speaking of the state of the kingdom, who better to break down whether or not the Kings could, should, or would make a move like this than Keith Smith of Spotrac, who knows all the ins and outs of every team's financials. He joins us next. Down south, Sacktown Sports.
Visit SacktownSports.com and join the Sacktown Sports 1140 newsletter.
For more than half a century, contractors and trade professionals have relied on WeatherGuard for heavy-duty truck and van storage equipment, not just to protect their tools, but to protect their professional reputations. Whether it's inside or outside of work vehicles, a WeatherGuard badge means pros can trust that their hard-earned name is in good hands. Since 1968 and every day since, WeatherGuard has been protecting anything it takes to build a professional reputation. WeatherGuard, established in 1968, proven every day. WeatherGuard.com.
Memorial Day is the unofficial beginning of summer and a time to reflect on the blessings we enjoy living in this country. Hi, I'm Frank LaRosa with a word about Naturewood Home Furnishings. At Naturewood's Memorial Day sale, you choose the offer. It's like 2 sales in one. Take 10% off regular prices or get 24 months of no-interest financing with payments on approved credit. Then you can choose from living rooms, sofas, sectionals, dining rooms, bedrooms, home offices, and so much more. Whether you're looking to lighten the mood in your living room, brighten up your bedroom, or tighten up your home office, you can shop and save big on the best selection of quality furniture, including Sacramento's largest selection of furniture made in the USA. Shop the area's best selection of quality furniture at Naturewood Home Furnishings. Off Highway 50 at Hazel, look for that water wheel.
Bonneville International Radio Station contests are open to participants at least 18 years of age and older that are residents of California and who reside in one of the 6 counties that make up the Sacramento metro area, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest are not eligible to win, unless the station otherwise specifies in its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 30 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. For a copy of the general contest rules, visit khtk.com. Power Business Technology is proud to be a 100% independent, locally owned and managed Toshiba copier dealer. Local ownership cuts out the red tape, allowing ourselves to never be too busy to personally answer the call when our clients need us. Recognized for excellence in service execution, training, and customer service, we're proud to be named a Toshiba ProMasters Elite Dealer since 2021. Contact us today for all of your business printing needs at 844-POWER-BZ. That's 844-769-3729. Or visit us at powercopiers.com.
Skeeter here. Got a question. What's small and dark with white bands on its legs and bites during the day?
Mosquitoes. Hi, I'm Luz Maria Robles, but these are 2 new types of day-biting mosquitoes. They're invading our area and becoming a big problem.
And they can be dangerous.
But we're on it, so when you see them, report it at fightthebite.net. In the meantime, use insect repellent and drain stagnant water around your yard.
We're here to help with these day-biting mosquitoes.
Visit us at fightthebite.net.
Memorial Day savings explode at Maida's Elk Grove Chevy. Save $12,500 off MSRP after rebates. Every new 2025 Silverado Turbo Max in stock. Exclusively at MaidasChevy.com. Now that's big, huge. Together, let's drive.
See dealer for details.
KHTK HD1 Sacramento. KYMX HD3 Sacramento.
Your home for Kings basketball for over 25 seasons.
Hammer time thrown down by Malik Monk. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
Sacktown Sports, 1140. Your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
12 o'clock on the dot on a Tuesday. We are joined by the one, the only Keith Smith of Spotrac. And Keith, friend of the station, I don't know that, I'm pretty sure you haven't been on this show yet. You're normally making your rounds. So we appreciate you hanging out with the midday show. We're the most fun show, Keith. So I'm glad you finally made it with us.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Let's start here, Keith. Obviously, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the Kings. But just in general, we were having a conversation about Johnathan Kuminga. We're going to talk about him a good bit here in this segment. But I was going back and forth with a texter about whether or not the Kings could sign somebody like Johnathan Kuminga just outright because of the increase in the salary cap. And Kyle and I were discussing how the Kings, just like almost every other team, is operating as a a team that is already over the cap. How does that increase in 2025, 2026? How is that going to affect certain teams and just the landscape of the NBA?
Yeah, it's not going to be like previous times when we've seen the cap go way, way up, because what the NBA did this time around was they, in negotiations in the last CBA, they not to use the same term, but they capped cap growth, meaning it can only go up by 10%. At the max each season. So it's going to go up. It's going to go up by a decent chunk. But what's going to happen is that's not enough to like cause all these teams. Like if we remember back in 2016, everybody had cap space and some truly horrifying deals were given out in retrospect. So what we'll see here is some teams are going to get a little more wiggle room with the tax and the aprons. That'll be helpful for them. But a lot of teams are still going to be over the cap. The Brooklyn Nets are positioned to have the most cap space in the league, but it's not going to be like the spending spree like we've seen in the past.
Talking to Keith Smith of Spotrac. With that being said, Keith, and I know you said that a lot of these deals aren't going to, situations aren't going to change a ton, but do you think some of the contracts, we've talked about this with Zach LaVine and, the John Collins of the world, some of these guys, Zach LaVine looking like a larger overpay than, say, a John Collins. With that being said, do you think some of these deals that are floating around right now could look a little bit better than they currently look once everybody else starts getting paid more money as well?
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's generally, the nature of things, unless it turns into a Bradley Beal type situation where the guy's just no longer, what he was as a player, and there's injuries and the no trade clause, which that's, what really makes that one so, rough to work around. Unless you fall into a situation like that, contracts do start to look less worse, I guess, is the best way to put it, as you go along. So, yeah, and I think the Kings are in a position with Zach LaVine. I said it at the time he was traded, and going into that trade, his deal wasn't underwater. It wasn't one where you're jumping up and down and talking about what a great job you did getting a team-friendly contract, but it was one where it's kind of neutral. I think that's the price they paid to acquire him, even though that got wrapped into a multi-team trade. That ultimately in the end looked like, all right, we did all right here, with this one. So I think that's where that'll go. And then as the cap continues to go up, and we're probably going to have this year, probably next year, maybe the year after, as 3 consecutive years of 10% growth, and then things will level back out a little bit more. And the reason why we're going to have those 3 years of 10% growth is going to be because of the new television contract, which delivered $7 billion into the NBA. So now we're in a position where, all right, everybody's going to kind of work around that, not work around it, but everybody's going to work within that as the cap grows. And one last thing I'll say, people get a little caught on like, oh, it's only 10%. Is that going to be a big amount? We're talking 10% of $140 million this year. So we're looking at about a $14-15 million growth ultimately in the end.
Talking to Keith Smith of Spotrac. Keith, let's stick with Zach LaVine for a second. It's been reported that the Kings might look to extend his deal and kind of spread out that money a little bit, as he's got that player option at the end of next season for about $47 million. We're seeing, and I'm not sure how this landed. I haven't seen the reports yet, but same idea with Fred VanVleet, the Rockets saying, hey, buddy, maybe we gave you a little too much money. Talk about why I guess from Zach LaVine's perspective, he's talked about moving a lot. A lot of these players are open about they do not enjoy moving during the season. But talk about why a Zach LaVine or Fred VanVleet would say, okay, fine, I'll take more years, but a lower AAV.
Sure, yeah, and the situations are a little bit different because in Fred VanVleet's, that's a team option. So the Rockets really have control there, where the Rockets can kind of say, hey, you know what, we're not giving you $44 million next year. It's not happening, and they could just cut it loose, and then they could say, hey, do you want to re-sign here? And we'll do something for $25 million a year, $30 million a year, and we'll kind of spread that out. That could be the way that goes down. You could also see Fred VanVleet say, "No, you cut me loose. Now I'm a free agent. I'm off to wherever I go." The problem this specific summer is, again, only the Nets have meaningful cap space available, and not sure they're locking into a over 30 point guard where they're at in their rebuild period here. With Zach LaVine, he's got significantly more control. A couple of things. One, it's a player option for him in 26-27. So he's under contract for next year, 47.5. Then he's got one more year after that he's locked into if he picks up that option. And then the other piece is in the summer of 2026, conservatively right now, we're projecting there to be maybe 5-6 teams with meaningful cap space. So you could get into that. But Zach LaVine's like, about as close to home as I can get in Washington, in Sacramento. And I want to be here, and I don't want to move around and move my family and do all the things that come with that again. I just want to stick here. One of the things him and the Kings could work out is, all right, $49 million, really not where we want to be, for you. But what you end up doing there is, all right, let's knock that number down a little bit. Let's knock it down to, $40 million. And then what we do is we add more guaranteed money on for the next 2-3 seasons. And that's how you kind of lengthen things out. You're not going to knock it down from 49 to 10. People who think that's going to happen, that's you're in dream world there. But you knock it down a little bit, that makes the deal more palatable. Maybe frees up some more flexibility for the Kings under the cap and or under the tax lines, aprons, and you just move forward that way.
Keith, a lot has been said about Domantas Sabonis and his value. You look at some of the, Ivica Zubac now has jumped Domantas Sabonis, and people are saying Şengün has jumped Sabonis. He's making a lot of money. What do you think about Domantas Sabonis' value right now in the NBA?
Yeah, I think it gets overblown that he's overpaid and overrated and all these things. He's one of the best rebounders in the league. He is one of the best facilitating bigs outside of Nikola Jokic that you can have. You can run your entire offense through Sabonis and you'd be just fine. And then offensively, we know he's really good, and I love that he got back to shooting more three-pointers last year. I think that's been something we've been looking for. Defensively, yeah, it's always going to be a problem. And you're going to have to get the right kind of defenders around him on the floor. But we've seen teams do that in the past. The New York Knicks, for example, are in the Eastern Conference Finals with Karl-Anthony Towns as their center. And no one has ever thought of Karl-Anthony Towns as a good defensive center. So you guys got to get the right defenders around him that can kind of protect him a little bit, make things harder on the perimeter guys, and you'll be able to get going forward. And then as far as the contract goes, I think he's paid very fairly for what he is. He's not on a max deal. He's below a max deal. He's going to be somebody who's going to come in. All right, he comes in at a big number, but it's not going to be a number where I think you're blown away like, oh my gosh, this guy makes so much money and it's impossible to move him. It's just getting the right players around him to maximize him and your team. That's what the Kings' challenge is.
Talking to Keith Smith of Spotrac. And Keith, we have a segment on this show. We call it Found Money. And we've been saying for the last couple of seasons, Keon Ellis has been that found money on the Kings. A lot of conversations have been had about, okay, well, if they decline his option, the Kings do, that's a better chance of them actually keeping him because they can offer him more money. Can you break down the Keon Ellis situation real quick?
Yeah, so what happens with Keon Ellis, the Kings have a team option for him next year for $2.3 million. In theory, you're like, man, that sounds awesome. This guy is worth way more than $2.3 million. But if the Kings just pick that up, then they're kind of locked into one of two options. Either you play it out and he becomes an unrestricted free agent in the summer of 2026, and that's not great because then you have no real leg up to keep him beyond bird rights, but he's not going to get paid so much that the bird rights are going to be the differentiator there. So you can either pick up the team option, have him for $2.3 million, then work an extension for him off of that, where you could give him $10, $11, $12 million a year. Even it could go as high as 20. That's probably a little bit too much, but you could do that. Your other option is you decline the team option. You make him a restricted free agent this summer. Again, we said it's only the Nets with cap space. I'm not sure that's the direction they're going to be looking to go. So everybody else who could give him an offer is a contract the Kings, I think, would gladly match and move on. So now the Kings have him under control as far as being a restricted free agent. Work out a deal with him right now. the first pass that latter pass is the more likely one, where they decline it, work out a new deal in restricted free agency, simply because that removes the risk from both team and player because something gets done right away. But we could see this be one. Boston Celtics did this with Sam Hauser, where they had him under contract and worked out a new long-term extension with him that locked in after he finished out the very team-friendly deal that he was on.
Keith Smith, just a couple more for you. Another one that has caused a lot of, I guess, confusion, if you will, Jake LaRavia. Now, obviously, Jake LaRavia came over from the Grizzlies. The Kings kind of inherited that situation, so they can only offer him a certain amount of money. What would be your guess as to whether or not Jake LaRavia gets priced out of what the Sacramento Kings are able to offer him?
Yeah, I think this is, again, one where things are kind of working a little bit in the Kings' favor here, but maybe not quite as well as they are with Keon Ellis. And the reason I say that is what happened with Jake LaRavia is the Kings are limited. They can, because the Grizzlies declined their rookie scale team option on him, that means that they then, by virtue of trading him to the Kings, now the Kings are limited to paying him a starting salary of about $5.2 million next year. You can't exceed the amount of the declined option. So what happens with Jake LaRavia is he gets paid, a starting salary of $5.2 million. They could give him, a full contract that works out to about $30 million over 5 years. If I'm Jake LaRavia and his agent, I'm like, nah, that's not enough for me in terms of annual value. But he might be able to get a 2-year deal worth, $10.5 million, where then maybe that second season's an option. Then he can opt out of that. The Kings then can that restriction of how much you can pay him in first-year salary is removed, and they can work out a new deal from there. I think that could be the path forward for Jake LaRavia.
Last but not least, Keith, before we had you on, we were talking about Johnathan Kuminga and maybe a sign and trade situation with him. What do you think his value looks like on the open market? I saw reports that it never officially came out that, but his camp may have wanted $30 million, and that's why him and the Warriors couldn't come to an agreement, because the Warriors just say, we're not paying you that. We'll see what happens in restricted free agency. How do you think it ends for Johnathan Kuminga as far as his next destination?
Yeah, I do think he's going to move via sign and trade from the Warriors. The Warriors not as limited as the Warriors of old when they were extremely over the cap and the tax and the apron, but they're limited in the things that they can do next summer because you have Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler on the books, all making over $130 million combined just for those three guys. So in order to build out depth around those guys, which we can see you need as they're older players, I think what they're going to do is try to work a sign and trade for Johnathan Kuminga, where it's him and then maybe they add another player or two in there. We'll see. But that brings you back 2-3 guys who can fill in rotation roles for them going forward, and that's how they try to build it out. As far as annual value goes, here's a little bit of a challenge. Again, is Kuminga. He's going to be in a spot where it's going to be, all right, how do we get there with it being all these so few teams with cap space? Where are we going to get to with a big offer? So I think find that place where he wants to be, team that wants to pay him. I don't know if he's getting $30 million a year. It might be more in the high end range of 20 or so. But then that team can feel pretty good about that. I think his problem was Franz Wagner, who was picked right around the same area as him in the draft, who he had done well against in a couple matchups, did get that max contract. And I think for Kuminga, that kind of put him in a spot where it's, hey, I need the max too. And it was never going to approach that from the Warriors. From he just hadn't done enough to earn that. Now we're in a spot where he's going to have to find it another way.
Keith, that was outstanding. Now I know why they always have you on the other shows. You got to come on this one more often. That was great. Keith Smith of Spotrac. Keith, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. We will talk to you again soon. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
Keith Smith, just with a heater. That dude was on fire. We react to everything we say. I'm feeling good about Keon Ellis. I'm feeling good about Jake LaRavia. Let's break it all down when we return. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Sacramento weather is brought to you by San Francisco 49ers.
I'm Tamara Berg in the KCRA 3 Weather Center. It's a beautiful day today for this Tuesday. Plenty of sunshine, less north wind to go around, and temperatures this afternoon will peak in the low 90s. Expect clear skies overnight and dropping back to the mid 50s. Get the latest forecast on the KCRA 3 News and the KCRA 3 app.
San Francisco 49ers 2025 single game tickets are now on sale. Join the faithful at Levi Stadium. Secure your seats today at 49ers.com/tickets. That's 49ers.com/tickets.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was going to unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/SacktownSports1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
It got to a point with Keith Smith where I just wanted to ask him about the most random. I wanted to ask him about Thomas Bryant, right? Just the most random player ever, and just hear him just rattle off everything that Thomas Bryant has going on. That guy is a Rolodex of information. So really appreciate Keith Smith of Spotrac being on the show, especially when he makes you feel better about the situations. I mean, I'm feeling good about everything. Zach LaVine, we know he made a great point, obviously, without being all the way up north with the Blazers. This is the closest Zach LaVine's going to get to his hometown and his home. He's got the relationship with Doug Christie. We know that a lot of these guys, they do not like moving during the season. They don't like moving, period, right? Zach LaVine has, 3 kids now, something like that. Or I know he has a fairly newborn. That happened throughout the season.
And they live in Los Angeles, so he's back home.
Yeah, well, he is back home. He's in both of his homes, up north and down south.
Yeah,
so wouldn't you know it?
Zach's home again.
He's home again. So, looking at Zach to give the Kings what they want, which is a little bit more cap flexibility and a lower AAV annual salary, and Zach gets what he wants and he gets a home. Maybe it's, I don't know how the no trade clause works, and not that the Kings would want to do that, but maybe it's, hey man, we'll take care of you, and we think you're going to be a part of this, and you making this move for us helps the whole situation. So feeling good about Zach. Keon, if you missed it, and this will all be up on YouTube and the Sacktown Sports app, but if you missed it, as far as Keon is concerned, TLDR, Keon, if you decline his option this season, a lot's going to happen this summer, right? Everyone there's nothing happened during the summer. There's a lot. We're just stuck in this. This might be, couldn't you argue, Kyle, that right now during the finals is probably the quietest period of time that we're going to see for the season. So the season's going to end, or for the Kings off season, the season's going to end. You have the draft, right? You have summer league. Okay. You have everything that's going to go down as far as the trades, and you're going to blink. It's going to be July and August. So right now might be the quote unquote worst time and we're probably through it. Second round was tough.
This is the slowest part until August.
Yes. And then you got NFL. And then you got Shedeur Sanders, who's starting, and Brock Purdy, who's worth $53 million now.
But at least in August, we can also do the how will the new look Kings look 50 times.
That's right. I mean, I'm loving this, man. Last season, we had DeMar. This season, we're going to have we might have DeMar. Last season, we had DeMar's arrival. This season, we might have DeMar's departure.
Now we might end up with Ja Morant at the end of this.
Who knows? I'm excited for this summer, man. But as far as Keon is concerned, we're going to find out pretty soon here if the Kings decline Keon, and Kyle was kind of breaking this down during the break. If the Kings decline Keon, do not be surprised if you would see a decline, and essentially within that same announcement, right, them saying we have declined Keon's option. We are now signing a new deal or an extension with him. That'll be 3 years, blah, 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 right? Or you don't work out that deal. He gets a restricted free agency, and you can match whatever somebody else offers you.
Maybe, but I would also guess that they would probably just accept the option if it got to that point. Right. I think it's whatever, June 29th is the deadline. I think they would probably just accept the option instead of saying, okay, Keon, you can go into restricted free agency now, because there are teams with mid-level exceptions, there are teams with biannual options and things like that could theoretically work out a deal with him that you then have to match. I would guess that if they don't work out a deal by June 29th, they probably just opt into the $2.3 million for next year and then say we'll deal with all of this next summer.
So if they do opt in, that would make Keon an unrestricted free agent, and the world would really be his oyster at the end of next season. And more likely than not, it would be tough. The Kings could get priced out. The Kings could easily get priced out.
But I think those things will take care of themselves, right? If Keon has such an incredible season that he's worth 4 years, $60 million to some team, I think the Kings, it'll work itself out where they say, we love you, found money, go spread your wings and fly somewhere else kind of situation. I think that's kind of the bigger thing is like, if he has another season like last year, they'll probably be able to sign him for a relatively reasonable amount. And if he has this amazing found money season, be like, You've done more than enough for us.
Yeah, you earned this.
You've earned this contract, whether it's us or someone else. Please go do your thing.
Jake LaRavia, feeling really good about him as well. We will break down what Keith Smith had to say about Jake the Legend when we return. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Allen Stiles here with your Sacktown Sports injury update, brought to you by Downtown LA Law Group. TJ McFarland out with that left adductor strain. Left game action after covering first base on a ground out. Manager Mark Kotze said an MRI revealed a grade 2 strain and that there will be some time missed. JT Ginn, out with that right elbow inflammation, will join the A's in San Francisco. Next step is a bullpen, and if all goes well, he will return to the rotation. This injury report was brought to you by Downtown LA Law Group. Hey, I'm Allen Stiles. Have an injury? Call Downtown. Downtown LA Law Group, an injury law firm, has many happy clients in Sacramento and the surrounding areas who have called Downtown. Get paid for your injuries from slip and falls or auto accidents. One of their most recent settlements was $1.5 million for a motorcycle accident. Have you had an auto accident? Call Downtown. Text injury help to 40222. That's injury help to 40222 and visit them at calldowntown.com.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hagen Oaks wants to be your go-to total golf game fitter. Try the TrackMan experience, the very best technology to fit your metal woods and irons. The new cutting-edge putter fitting studio with its $30,000 worth of technology is ready for your fitting. Hagen Oaks will help you find the best putter for your game. Hagen Oaks offers more technology, more choices, and more service. Schedule your fitting at the Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio by calling 916-808-2531, 808-2531 for more.
Mike Rowe here with a quick question. Have you noticed cracks in your drywall, chimney, or exterior walls? I hope not, because if you have, they could be indications that you've got a much bigger problem with your foundation. That's where Groundworks comes in. They can honestly assess your situation and create a plan to stabilize your foundation. Schedule your free inspection at groundworks.com/row. And while you're there, check out my latest dirty job. It's a good one.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
If your passion is bass fishing, only one radio show has the action, information, and excitement of your favorite outdoor sport. Ultimate Bass, hosted by Tournament Bass Pro and California Outdoor Hall of Famer Kent Brown, takes you live to where the fish are biting every Saturday morning. Only Ultimate Bass feeds your passion with the latest news, products, tips, and advice from the pros. Ultimate Bass with Kent Brown, Saturday mornings at 5 a.m. on Sacktown Sports 1140, part of SEP's Saturday Morning Outdoors.
Come check out Capital Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room with the most variety of table games in the region in a safe and friendly environment. Plenty of well-lit parking available, conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. And remember, Capital Casino has the best food, the best service, and the best action. 411 North 16th Street in downtown Sacramento. For more information, log on to capital-casino.com, and please gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140
on Sacktown Sports.
Breaking down everything we learned from Keith Smith of Spotrac. And, Keon, if they decline it, they'll probably come to an agreement on an extension, or he will hit restricted free agency, which gives them another opportunity. If they accept the team option, Keon will be an unrestricted free agent after this upcoming season. As far as Jake LaRavia is concerned, I thought this was really interesting. This is how Keith sees a path, so everybody pay close attention, because we get a Jake LaRavia question at least twice a week. So pay close attention. Okay, Jake LaRavia, what the Kings can do based on how they received the deal from the Grizzlies. It's about $5 million, around $5 million that they can sign him for.
5.1.
Yes, 5.1. So what they can do is they can sign him for about 2 years, $10 million, $10.5 million, whatever the case may be. And that second year is an option. Okay, you throw an option in that second year. Jake LaRavia opts out of the option. As we know, Jake LaRavia has really liked playing in Sacramento and playing for Doug Christie. That's what he's been telling us. So then he would opt out of that second year, and then those restrictions would be gone, and the Kings can sign him to a longer, more lucrative deal for him, and that's how you keep Jake LaRavia. It's so funny how simple Keith Smith makes it sound.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if somebody out there is willing to pay Jake LaRavia and cash him out right now, he said that, hey, Jake LaRavia technically could sign again. Do the math here, right? 5 years or 30 mil over 5 years. Jake LaRavia, that AAV, that annual salary, that ain't cutting it, right? Somebody will probably price the Kings out there, but if he likes playing in Sacramento, he can take a 2-year deal with the 1-year opt out. If Jake LaRavia, he's kind of taking a bet on himself as well, and it depends on the market. If around the market, he's looking at, annual salaries of $7 million, $8 million, something like that. Maybe he says, I'll just stay in Sacramento. If somebody is saying, we'll give you 3 years, 30, right, and he can get $10 million a year right now, then you take the $10 million a year right now.
Yeah, you just need someone to make it worth his while, with the presumption that if he plays well, Sacramento will then be the team to cash him out, right? Because there's nothing that is preventing him from signing with any team at this point. You're just making the calculation, if you're LaRavia, that a 1-year contract from someone else is not worth the potential of 2 years guaranteed with the Kings plus whatever else is on top. Again, I don't know how the market will play out, but you just hit the point, which is like, if someone's going to pay him $25 million for 2 years now, he's obviously going to take that versus half of that to play in Sacramento without a guarantee that he's going to get that next year.
Look, I know this doesn't mean everything, but I will say this. Every day there are, and obviously Jake LaRavia isn't kind of seen as one of those top tier guys as far as targets, but every day we're seeing names being thrown out on my timeline. I got Warriors trades, I got Rockets trades, I got Spurs trades, all of these different trades, Cavs trades as well. Jake LaRavia's name is not being mentioned a lot, which tells me that I don't think it's going to be a huge bidding war. It's just a matter of, will there be one team that thinks that their found money could be Jake LaRavia? That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, you're needing a team that says, we think Jake LaRavia is worth double what the Kings think he's worth. And you're essentially betting on a team that didn't draft Jake LaRavia to say, we believe Jake LaRavia now 3 years later is a core rotational piece. And maybe he is. Certainly the Kings would want him back to be a part of their 9-man rotation. That's not to say another team won't do that. It's just any team could have had him at the trade deadline. And the Kings were the team that essentially gave up 2 second-round picks to acquire him.
Right.
Again, I'm more so just rationalizing it in my own head why he would stay in Sacramento, but the Kings were the team that valued him the most at the trade deadline because he could have been had by anyone, and they gave up Colby Jones and a second-round pick to make that happen.
And you could say, and we talked about it at the time, obviously the Kings wanted to make the playoffs. We all wanted the Kings to make the playoffs. Well, most of us did. But not having Jake LaRavia, do you lose the battle to win the war? Because if Jake LaRavia does play and they still miss the playoffs or play in, or let's say Jake LaRavia balls out in the play-in, right? And somebody says, oh, kind of forgot about Jake LaRavia, and now he's got more suitors because he did it on a bigger stage. Let's say they win the first game. Jake LaRavia has one of those crazy games that he has, 25 points. Second game, he's got 15, and he's right. The Kings lose. Let's say they still don't make it to the playoffs, but that's the last time you saw Jake LaRavia. He might be getting more calls. He was not able to play. So that might end up helping the Kings as far as the other suitors out there.
Yeah, it's essentially saying, is another team willing to offer a multi-year commitment to Jake LaRavia? Because the Kings can do that right now. Keith Smith just kind of outlined it. Hey, 1 year with a player option. So, if things go terrible next year, don't worry, Jake. You're going to opt into, I have the number here, $5.5 million in your second year of the contract. Is there another team that's willing to say, we too are willing to make a multi-year commitment to Jake LaRavia? I don't know who that team is, but it's such a small dollar value that anyone could get in the game.
Yeah,
almost anyone.
I mean, I'm looking again. Yeah, I'm looking at honestly contenders, right? And then you look at contenders and you wonder, I think everyone could use a Jake LaRavia. With contenders, it gets weird because obviously the talent is better. So I don't know that Jake would get the same amount of time. And if you're a contender, it's like, well, we only gave him $7 million a year. We don't necessarily need him to be out there versus I think right now Jake is looking at it feeling as if I know I'm going to get time with the Kings.
Well, we talked about this last week when we did PJ Washington as our trade candidate of the day, which is if you're a contending team like the Mavericks, for example, top heavy, multiple max contracts, even if you're not competing for a championship, your roster is built as if you're competing for a championship. They bring in Cooper Flagg, and all of a sudden PJ Washington has to go to the bench. Can you afford to pay $15 million for a backup 3?
Yeah.
If you're not paying
Jake LaRavia.
Or go get Jake LaRavia. If you're not paying that for PJ Washington, you're definitely not paying that for Jake LaRavia. That's the flip side of it. It's like, the good news is if $14 million for PJ Washington, who we know is a starting caliber 3, is too rich for the Mavericks blood, then I don't think anyone's going to pay $10, $11 million for Jake LaRavia to be a backup 3, or at least only play 15 minutes a game. How many minutes did Jake average? I think it was like 15 minutes a game on the Kings. I don't think anyone's paying $10 million for that.
No. So I think it's really a crapshoot and can go either way as far as Jake LaRavia is concerned. But I am feeling much better about it today. Now, I think what is also interesting is what Keith was saying as to how they can keep Keon Ellis, they can keep Jake LaRavia. So your rotation is filling out, but the bottom line is you still have a major problem, right? And the major problem is that you don't have either an elite number 1 or 2 damn near close to elite number 2s, right? And that is just kind of all around players. I think Domantas Sabonis is elite, but you don't have 2 elite scorers. You don't have one elite scorer or 2 really, really good scores. So that's ultimately the problem. It turns into the Kings go from being basically top heavy with no rotation to looking at a team where the rotation is cool, but the problem is your ceiling is just not that high. The Kings initially going into this season, their floor was brutal because they had no rotation. Now it looks like they have a solid rotation, but a really good rotation without, let's say De'Aaron Fox here, but ahead of a snake is just a new problem. The Kings just have new problems now.
Right. Now they added bench depth.
Yes.
But they also don't have a roster that makes sense.
Right. Now they have, and this is what it goes back to, if they had a De'Aaron Fox and DeMar DeRozan, even though a lot of people say it didn't make sense, we didn't see enough of it, but you're not playing these guys 40-plus minutes a game because you trusted Jake LaRavia and Keegan Murray because you trusted Jake LaRavia and you trusted Keon Ellis, and now, okay, Malik, is coming back off the bench or whatever the case may be. That would have worked out for you. Now you've just created a new problem.
Yeah, it's funny how just one player kind of changes perceptions like that, because essentially if you look back on the whole trade deadline reinventing of the Kings, they essentially gave up De'Aaron Fox and Kevin Huerter, and Kevin Huerter was falling out of the rotation by day. You gave up those 2, and Colby Jones and Alex Len and Jordan McLaughlin, all of whom weren't playing. But in your rotation, you moved out De'Aaron Fox and Kevin Huerter. You added in Zach LaVine, Jake LaRavia, and Jonas Valanciunas, and all of a sudden it felt like the bench made more sense, and that was just one player who you knew you could rely on for 20 minutes a game in Jake LaRavia that kind of changed that.
As we look around the conference finals, who do you trust the most with the game on the line? Also, Niners, they're handing out a lot of money. Is it going to the right place? Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
On the move? Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sactown Sports app will let you stay connected to your passion. Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with the Sactown Sports app.
Skeeter here. Got a question. What's small and dark with white bands on its legs and bites during the day?
Mosquitoes. Hi, I'm Luz Maria Robles, but these are 2 new types of day-biting mosquitoes. They're invading our area and becoming a big problem.
And they can be dangerous.
But we're on it, so when you see them, report it at fightthebite.net. In the meantime, use insect repellent and drain stagnant water around your yard.
We're here to help with these day-biting mosquitoes.
Visit us at fightthebite.net.
Another big box corporation. We're your neighbors, locally owned and operated. We know what businesses like yours need, from reliable printers to high performance copiers. We'll help you find the right solution with personal service you just can't get online. Need setup or support? We're just down the road and always happy to help. Power Business Technology, family hometown service with big time solutions. Contact us today for all your business printing needs at 844-POWER-BZ. That's 844-769-3729 or visit us at powercopiers.com.
I'm Ken Korak with your Green and Gold Report, brought to you by Comcast Business, powering possibilities. Well, with second baseman Zach Geloff having spent the entire year on the IL, the A's offseason acquisition of Luis Urias as a free agent has turned out to be a shrewd move. As of the end of the last homestand, Urias had started 20 consecutive games at second base, hitting 4 home runs, including a walk-off against the White Sox, and his OPS almost .830.
Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. It's how retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing must-visit shops. And it's how healthcare offices become data-managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business.
Memorial Day savings explode at Maida's Elk Grove Chevy. Save $12,500 off MSRP after rebates. Every new 2025 Silverado Turbo Max in stock. And Maida Chevy has similar savings on every new Silverado. One of the largest selections of new Silverado in the Sacramento area. $12,500 off new Silverado. Exclusively at the Maida Chevy Silverado Supercenter. Now that's big. Huge. See them all at MaidaChevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Less than 21 or more. Not available with special financing, lease, and some other offers.
Hi, Sacramento. It's the No Surprise guys at Bell Brothers Plumbing and Air Conditioning. Need a new water heater? Call Bell Brothers. Need drain or sewer work? Call Bell Brothers. Need a free plumbing estimate? Call Bell Brothers. We don't guess at plumbing and drain problems. We use advanced camera inspections and diagnostics to identify the issues. We're fast, reliable, and respect your time by showing up when we say we will. Our technicians are all background checked, drug tested, and will leave the work area cleaner than they found it. The price we quote is the price you pay. We are the No Surprise guys. With more technicians, more trucks, and more experience. We get the job done right the first time. No surprises. Don't wait. Call Bell Brothers today for a free plumbing estimate or book online at nosurpriseguys.com. That's nosurpriseguys.com.
The No Surprise Guys, Bell Brothers.
Looking for fun for the whole family? Sacramento Rivercats Baseball has it all at Sutter Health Park. Enjoy exciting baseball, kids' activities, tasty ballpark treats, and more. Family memories start here. Get your Rivercats baseball tickets at rivercats.com.
Live and local.
It's Allen Stiles
on Sacktown Sports.
From the 916, the fact we're spending this much time trying to figure out how to keep Jake LaRavia shows how much trouble this team is in. Well, that's a pretty negative way to look at things.
I feel like you can say that about anything.
You can.
Like, any small detail is like, we're so screwed because we're talking about Jonas Valanciunas shooting
and
threes.
I got cooked. I got cooked on social media for that one. And I stand by it.
Sure.
Damn it. I stand by it. If he shoots threes, he's our Brook Lopez.
It's a good point.
It is.
Lock him in the gym. What's the point of going out and getting another stretch 5 when, 1, you're trying to re-sign Trey Lyles, and 2, you gotta get Valanciunas to shoot threes.
People just, I think when you're not winning championships, it's just fun to, like we said, the self-loathing, despondent Kings fan.
Well, when you're not making the playoffs either.
Yeah. That's also true. Well, the Niners look to get back into the championship conversation as they have handed out over Senor Segway strikes again, as they have handed out over $400 million in contracts to Brock Purdy, George Kittle, and Fred Warner. They have now signed 6 players in the last year to the highest paid contract at their position. Brock Purdy, Fred Warner, George Kittle, Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, and Christian McCaffrey. The Niners, they're pretty darn close to the timeline conversation. I just think it's different in the NFL. They have some young talent at some important positions. sure, but they still have a lot of their foundational pieces, and now they have their quarterback. They're hoping that some of their young draft picks can help out Nick Bosa in those situations. Yeah, I think the name that we haven't talked enough about is Christian McCaffrey, because in my opinion, if Christian McCaffrey isn't healthy, and he had 2 issues this past season, right? And when he came back from the both calves, Achilles being sore, and he went to Switzerland or wherever he went, when he came back and that was all figured out, the stem cell, whatever, then he had, and it was so funny, people saying, whoa, this is not connected to the calf injuries, people. This is a different injury. This is knee, as if, because that was in the snow against Buffalo. Oh, okay. That makes me feel much better that Christian McCaffrey at 28 years old is now adding another injury to the list. But that was the positive take on it. Hey, this has nothing to do with his Achilles.
Because I think everyone heard Achilles and they were like, oh God, did Christian McCaffrey just snap his Achilles?
And I guess that's a bet. I guess you could look at it and say, hey, well, he did avoid the worst injury in sports, but he's still 28 and he's still dealing with multiple injuries, and he's coming off of that. And, he's got a little bit more rest because of those injuries, and also because of the lack of playoff run that the Niners went on. But to me, this season has so much to do with Christian McCaffrey, because we saw Brock Purdy. Now, Brock Purdy was missing Brandon Ayuk. He was missing Christian McCaffrey, and we get all that. Brandon Ayuk, you're going to get back, we assume. Christian McCaffrey, again, I know he takes care of his body, and Saquon, basically you're hoping for the Saquon bounce back, where both of these guys dealt with injuries kind of early in their career, and Saquon just had that season that he had. Now, he doesn't have the same offensive line, or Christian McCaffrey doesn't have the same offensive line as Saquon, but I do not think that we're talking about Christian McCaffrey enough. If the run game can't get going, if Christian McCaffrey doesn't look like the Christian McCaffrey that they traded for and were able to acquire a couple years ago, as much as I think, and I took the Niners to win 12. If they don't have a healthy Christian McCaffrey, that to me is the most important offensive piece. You could argue more than Brock Purdy, honestly.
Oh yeah, well, Trent Williams might be number 1 on the list, but I think it's Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, then Brock Purdy for this team, which I'm looking at the contract right now. It's not that cost prohibitive every year for them to get out of it. I think they're planning on McCaffrey being there 2 more seasons.
Right.
And then, we'll see what happens. They either release him or sign an extension that alleviates the cap, like the Vikings used to do with Kirk Cousins for years.
Yeah.
That you just sign something, it's backloaded. I don't know.
Yeah. And the Barkley thing, they know what that is, right? The Eagles and Philadelphia, they know how important it is to win a Super Bowl, right? The Eagles, they'll never admit this, but they made a decision when they extended Saquon, saying, we know there's a great chance that this contract might essentially just be burning money. We hope it's not, but thank you, Saquon, for this season. That's how I read that contract.
But
we hope that's not the situation, but we are mentally prepared if that is a situation, because of what you just did and the Super Bowl we just won.
But with the running back position also, they're not that bad. Like these damning contracts are not that difficult to get out of, because running backs just don't get paid.
Yeah.
But even besides the contract of it all, if the Niners are not worried about the contract space and are more worried about how can they get back to being a top 5 offense in the NFL, that starts, middles, and ends with Christian McCaffrey being I won't say 20 touchdown a year guy, because that, he was the offensive player of the year in 2023, or at least he was a finalist for offensive player of the year. Maybe you're not going to get that, and maybe he's not going to score 7 touchdowns against the Arizona Cardinals again, but you're certainly hoping for a Christian McCaffrey that is putting up 1,500 yards of offense and top 3 in scoring. Regardless of what he's getting paid, a Christian McCaffrey on the field is certainly a necessity. A Christian McCaffrey, I mean, Jordan Mason filled in and put up numbers, but we all know what Christian McCaffrey brings and how it changes the way defenses think about, defending.
I'm just double checking here just because we saw we saw things kind of move and shake. So right now you got Christian McCaffrey as your number 1, of course, Isaac Guerrero number 2, Jordan James number 3 on the depth chart, and number 4, Patrick Taylor, and Jordan Mason. That's because Jordan Mason is off to Minnesota. So Jordan Mason goes on, and you kind of wish him the best. I'll say this about Christian McCaffrey. This kind of reminds me of the Domantas Sabonis 4 conversation, playing Domantas Sabonis at the 4, because I'm one of these guys too. Man, just line Christian McCaffrey up as a slot receiver at this point. He doesn't have to be an everyday running back. I'm one of those people, and they're all out there that have been saying that for years, and I'm about ready to give up on it because I just don't think it'll happen. But I do have another opportunity. Hey, coming off an injury, let's get him lined up more often. He can catch the football. Does he have to be your every down back at this point? And I'm one of those people. I've been saying it for years, and the Niners just have never decided to do that.
Well, they've only had Christian McCaffrey for 1 full season, and I'll admit they got him at the trade deadline in 22, and he played 10 games that year. So they've had him basically for a season and a half if you just throw out last year completely. So I guess at this point it's so fascinating. I've talked about this before. Shanahan used to be the guy who could just interchange running backs and they all would go for 150 yards. And then once he got McCaffrey, they didn't have to behave like that anymore.
Yeah.
And they just kind of said, we're going to make sure Christian McCaffrey goes not until the wheels fall off, but we're going to build this offense around Christian McCaffrey. At this point, I think there's a happy medium, and it's just motion. They already incorporate so much motion into their pre-snap. Get him in the backfield, have him run out there like a slot receiver, give him a head start. There's a happy medium of you don't have to line him up as a slot receiver, but just incorporate motion. Put McCaffrey in motion, put Ayuk in motion, Ricky Pearsall's
That's all you have to do. Peg on the Sack Chat is saying CMC at wide back because he's initially a running back. Would it be back wide?
Back wide is crazy.
He's our back wide.
Someone's back is wide going out on that.
But it is interesting, with Debo, and I'll never forget, was that game against the Rams? I always called it the Boobie Miles game, where Christian McCaffrey, he caught one, ran for one. Didn't he throw one too?
Yeah.
The Boobie Miles game. Get back to that.
Yeah, get back to Christian McCaffrey being the superhuman Hall of Fame running back that he is a good strategy.
I'm just saying I don't need 8,000 snaps from Christian McCaffrey a game at this point. How about this? I don't want to see Christian McCaffrey attempt to do what Saquon just did, because I don't know that he can do it. And I don't think he has to do it for the Niners to be successful. You have a ton of weapons.
But it's also such a different style, right? Because with Saquon, you're not really having him as a pass-catching back.
Not really.
With McCaffrey, you can mix things up because you have that pass-catching option. And honestly, the Eagles last year were like, why do we need him to catch passes when you can't even stop him running the football?
Right.
But at the same time, they can mix things up. They can have screen actions. We just mentioned pre-snap motion. You can have him motion out to the slot. I don't know what they're going to do with Jawan Jennings.
And don't get me wrong, Christian McCaffrey and the all-purpose yards, that's why he's always, I don't think he's ever been disrespected, but that's why people have maybe not always put him in the same category as the other running backs, because his all-purpose yards were always crazy, not just his rushing yards. So he's always done it throughout his career. I'm just saying I would lean into it even more, as we don't know what he's going to look like at 28 years old, coming off a season that he really couldn't stay on the field after two really healthy, a season and a half or 2 seasons?
Yeah, 2 healthy seasons.
2 really healthy seasons.
At least until the playoffs last year. Playoffs the first year, the year that Brock's elbow blew out, he had some injury concerns then. I know that using this terrible team as an example isn't the best, but running back wise, I think it's the best model you could look for. What the Saints do with Alvin Kamara now is a great model for what the 49ers can do with Christian McCaffrey. Now, they don't Jamal Williams has kind of been that like goal line back for the Saints for years, and they do the Taysom Hill package and they have funky things, but the way that they work Alvin Kamara year after year, and yet it feels like Alvin Kamara is never taking big hits or never in injury reports, I think is the best way to look at it. It's quick screens, it's runs outside, don't let him just run right up the middle and just hit 300-pound defensive tackles all the time.
Yeah.
I think what the Saints do with Alvin Kamara is a great way to have that pass-catching, versatile running back age into their late 20s.
When we return, the Nuggets, the Pacers, the Thunder, which team should the Kings model themselves after? Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
For more than half a century, contractors and trade professionals have relied on WeatherGuard for heavy-duty truck and van storage equipment, not just to protect their tools, but to protect their professional reputations. Whether it's inside or outside of work vehicles, a WeatherGuard badge means pros can trust that their hard-earned name is in good hands. Since 1968 and every day since, WeatherGuard has been protecting anything it takes to build a professional reputation. WeatherGuard, established in 1968, proven every day. WeatherGuard.com.
Allen Stiles here with your Sactown Sports Injury Update, brought to you by Downtown LA Law Group. TJ McFarland out with that left adductor strain, left game action after covering first base on a ground out. Manager Mark Kotze said an MRI revealed a grade 2 strain and that there will be some time missed. JT Ginn out with that right elbow inflammation will join the A's in San Francisco. Next step is a bullpen, and if all goes well, he will return to the rotation. This injury report was brought to you by Downtown LA Law Group. Hey, I'm Allen Stiles. Have an injury? Call Downtown. Downtown LA Law Group, an injury law firm, has many happy clients in Sacramento and the surrounding areas who have called Downtown. Get paid for your injuries from slip and falls or auto accidents. One of their most recent settlements was $1.5 million for a motorcycle accident. Have you had an auto accident? Call Downtown. Text injury help to 40222. That's injury help to 40222 and visit them at calldowntown.com.
San Francisco! What a laser from Brock Purdy, and what a catch.
San Francisco 49ers single game tickets are available now.
Intercepted by Fred Warner. Fred gets up and runs back the other way. One block and he's in. Gonna throw left for the end zone. It's caught by George Kittle.
Secure your seats at 49ers.com/tickets.
Touchdown!
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
The Memorial Day Race to Savings is on. Get the best deals of the season at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Looking to own or lease? During the Memorial Day Race to Savings, drive a brand new Accord or Civic. Visit us today at FolsomLakeHonda.com, your one-stop Honda shop.
As a family-owned and operated dealership since 2009, customer service is our #1 priority. Our customers love doing business with us, and you will too.
Folsom Lake Honda. Yeah, your one-stop Honda shop.
KHD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD3 Sacramento.
Your flagship station for the Beam Team.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
This is Sactown Sports 1140. your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
There are a lot of different ways to build a team. For so long, it feels like we talked about the Kings and the Nuggets. And now the Nuggets, right, because you have Jokic, who Domantas Sabonis is similar to, and you had De'Aaron Fox, he could be your Jamal Murray. Keegan Murray could have been, I guess, your Aaron Gordon, if you will, and you kind of rock and roll from there. But that's not what the Kings are doing now. And they've moved on from one De'Aaron Fox. We don't know what's going to happen with DeMar DeRozan. And you have a Zach LaVine who, I don't know, is he an expensive Michael Porter Jr.? I hope he's better than that. And I definitely believe that he is. Allen Stiles Show taking you up to 2 p.m. One more hour with you. Hour 4 coming at you. And we have a lot of things to cram into 1 hour. And we're starting here, 916-339-1140. If you want to be a part of the conversation, who the Kings should model themselves after. Now, when you're building a team, and we can take some notes on this too, when you're building the team, and I just saw somebody bring up that the Hornets with LaMelo Ball, I think it might have been the Club 520 podcast with Jeff Teague, that the Hornets should model themselves after the Pacers. You know, they said, you got LaMelo, who is essentially Tyrese Halliburton on steroids when he plays. But you got LaMelo who can push the basketball, right? You have Miles Bridges who can score the basketball. He can shoot, things like that. Now, as Mark Williams is definitely not the same as Miles Turner, but maybe you move Mark Williams and you try to get somebody that can stretch the floor like that. Run and gun, essentially. Harlem Globetrotters. That's what the Hornets should do because of who they have as their star. You start looking around the league now and how you build a team. You have 3 types of, I think, similar teams left in the playoffs. 3 teams that are good on defense and they have a dude, right? You have the Timberwolves. They got Anthony Edwards. And a lot of these guys, they don't even have second. What's funny is we were joking about the Thunder not having a number 2, but do any of those 3 teams have a legit number 2 that are left in the NBA playoffs? The Thunder, Jalen Williams, I don't know that he's a elite number 2 yet.
It's up and down with him, right?
Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves, I guess Julius Randle would be their number 2.
But Julius Randle wasn't that last year, right?
Going into it, how many people would say, I trust Julius Randle as the number 2 on a championship team? Nobody.
The Knicks specifically said, we don't believe Julius Randle can be a number 2.
And the Knicks, speaking of the Knicks, who's the Knicks number 2? Is it Karl?
No, it's got to be Karl. But to the exact same point, Karl was the number 2 on the Timberwolves last year, and the Timberwolves said no thank you.
And I don't know if Karl has necessarily been that number 2, traditional number 2 in the playoffs. It's been kind of by committee. OG will have a game. Mikal Bridges can have a game. So you have that situation. So you have 3 teams like that have their dudes, have number 2s that you hope will raise their game, and they're going to defend you. They're going to defend you tight. Then you have the Pacers, who, again, do the Pacers have a number 1 or a number 2? They just got really. I saw something that said every Pacers starter has over 60% true shooting percentage.
Yes.
So they're just all of us are. We're all threats. We're just all threats.
Okay, so I'm going to be careful the way that I say it. Pascal Siakam is their number 2, and he is a very good number 2, but they also might have the best number 3, number 4, and number 5 left in the playoffs. When you're talking about Miles Turner as a number 4, I guess
Miles Turner number 4 sounds crazy.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I guess it's I guess it's probably Miles Turner number 3.
Yeah.
Anyways, Aaron Nesmith is perfect, and not to rub salt in the wounds for the Hornets point, but you know who's a perfect Aaron Nesmith? Dalton Knecht.
Yeah.
Dalton Knecht is a perfect Aaron Nesmith, number 5 option in an offense, and Charlotte had him for like a week. But yes, Siakam is a good number 2, but they have an excellent number 3, number 4, and number 5.
Mm-hmm. So again, a couple different ways to break all of this down, and a couple different paths for the Kings to take, right? A couple different paths for the Kings to take. I look at it and I say, okay, ultimately for me, I do still think it's a Denver Nuggets type situation. As long as you have Domantas Sabonis, it's a Denver Nuggets type situation. You just need a better Jamal Murray. And I know we can go back and forth on De'Aaron Fox being better than Jamal Murray. Today's not the day for it. You just need a better Jamal Murray, right? Because Domantas Sabonis can't do when Jamal Murray just doesn't feel like playing or whatever weird stuff happens with Jamal Murray. Jokic says, okay, let me go for 40. And Domantas Sabonis can't do that.
Or 50.
Or 50.
Jokic goes for 50 sometimes.
And Domantas Sabonis just can't do that. When's the last time Domantas Sabonis scored 35?
Oh, that's a good question. I know he had 30 at one point last year.
35 points. Over 30. Give me over 30 for Domantas Sabonis.
Okay, there was definitely one last year where he was at that point. So let's see. As a Sacramento King, Domantas Sabonis's career high King's high is 37. You had a 35.
Did I go to overtime?
That is a great question. Let's see.
You don't have to look that up.
It did not. That was the game where they went down like not last year, in 2024, where they went down like 47-27 against the Pistons.
Yeah.
And then they just blew. So sorry, his only 35-point game as a Sacramento King was against the Pistons. His only 37-point game was against the Pistons.
When they were bad.
Yes, the year that they were truly awful. His 35-point game came in a loss against the Suns. So
okay.
This year his season high was 32.
So you're building this thing and you say, okay, you have Domantas Sabonis, who is a lesser version of Nikola Jokic, right? You have Keegan Murray, who, yes, everyone is saying Gordon might have a bit of muscle, more muscle than Keegan. Yes, of course he does. But I still think it's a model. I like the OG comp more than Gordon, but they're all kind of on the same tree in the same book, just different chapters. So you have Keegan Murray as your Aaron Gordon type. So that's your two there. And if somebody thinks there's a better model for the Kings, please, 916-339-1140, call line, text line, and Sack Chat. I don't see one as long as you have Domantas Sabonis, right? So you have those two guys there. Zach LaVine, unfortunately, if I'm keeping it 1,000, he's a really expensive Michael Porter Jr. He's better. He's just more expensive, right? Now you have the last two spots where it gets kind of weird because Christian Brown was starting and wasn't starting. Now you have basically another wing position that you're looking at and a point guard. So as we are looking at who the Kings should be focusing on during this offseason, and you move DeMar DeRozan, no. Jamal Murray and DeJounte Murray, no, they're not in the same category, but you can try. I would say DeMar DeRozan, you're moving to get I'm going to say his name. I was trying to convince Kyle that the Cavs might need DeMar DeRozan, and Kyle wouldn't let me. But if you get a DeAndre Hunter type, right, and you can play, like you said yesterday, you can play a Zach LaVine at the 2, and then you get that. And again, obviously Christian Brown is kind of weird because he's just kind of he's like a better offensive Caruso in a way, right? And Caruso's better defensively. So kind of in that, he's starting right now. Is he going to start forever? I don't know. I also don't know what his ceiling is.
On that Nuggets team, he's going to start forever.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm not going to spend time on Christian Brown because there are not a lot of Christian Browns running around. And maybe that's Jake LaRavia. I don't know, but I don't know that Jake LaRavia is going to start like that. So now all you're really missing, right, is that second wing or shooting guard, if you want to go in that direction, which might be DeAndre Hunter, but probably not, and your Jamal Murray. So how do you get those two guys when all you have to give up right now is DeMar DeRozan? That leads me to think that, and who are we talking with yesterday, Kyle, or last week, Kyle, when somebody said that Malik Monk is a bit of a luxury, and I said Malik Monk is if you had, I think it was Roundtable, right?
I'm guessing that's what it was.
So last week we talked about Malik Monk being a bit of a luxury that the Kings don't have right now. Okay, where Malik Monk is some really nice rims, but the car doesn't work that well.
Yes, that was definitely with Brennan.
Okay, the car doesn't work that well. So if you look at him like that, is it worth it to move a DeMar DeRozan and a Malik Monk to get a car, to trade in your rims, to get a 1998 Toyota Corolla that you just know is going to drive?
Okay, I'm just going to say this part out loud, is that the Nuggets model worked when they had De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox was their Jamal Murray, and they got rid of that. That's what made the Nuggets model thing work.
Now, here's the problem. When they had De'Aaron Fox, they didn't know it. Their Aaron Gordon was Harrison Barnes, which just didn't work, and their Michael Porter Jr. was Keegan Murray, which did work until it didn't. And then Kevin Huerter was whatever Kevin Huerter was.
Sure. If the Kings were the Nuggets model, the Kings decided we don't want to be the Nuggets model anymore. And they completely pivoted from the Nuggets model and went with the Bulls model. They chose the Bulls model.
But help me. Okay, well, then that's fine. But I don't see, as long as you have Domantas Sabonis on the team, I don't see another model. Because the only other player that plays like Domantas Sabonis is Şengün. And unless you're going to blow it up and get a bunch of you get Kuminga and a bunch of other random 22-year-old athletic freaks running around, I don't really see what else you can do.
Well, so then let me ask you a question. If you're the Rockets, what would you do to build around Şengün?
I need more shooting.
So
Ben Thompson is safe, but Dylan Brooks, I've probably seen enough of Dylan Brooks. And don't make me talk about Fred VanVleet too much.
Sure, but we talked about they play like a team that doesn't have their star.
Right.
So is that star a Jamal Murray type, or is it a Kevin Durant type? Is it a Devin Booker type where you get scoring at all three levels?
I think it would have been Devin Booker.
So then you're just looking for playmaking at all three levels is essentially what you're going for to pair alongside.
Yeah, because De'Aaron Fox's playmaking, I think, made Domantas Sabonis' playmaking even better because of the threat of both.
Yes.
Right now, there's no threat of two playmakers on the Kings.
So then
they have one, and he's the center.
So then you need another playmaker, which is essentially saying you need a number one scoring option who can score at all three levels and have a threat of playing well at different levels.
You need a creator. And if you can't, as LeBron put it, and if you don't have a creator, let's say DeJounte Murray is the best you can get, then those other three players better be snipers. And which you do have two, which is why I've been on the DeJounte Murray train. You got Keegan, you got Zach LaVine. So basically it's one slasher in DeJounte. Okay, and again, the Achilles, after talking to Greg Swartz from Bleacher Report, he made me really weary about the whole Achilles thing. But you have a slasher, right, who can touch the paint, a paint toucher, okay? In DeJounte Murray, you have your paint presence in Domantas Sabonis, and just the rest of the three dudes, and that's kind of the Pacers model. It's just Domantas Sabonis can't shoot like Miles Turner. Just give me 3-point shooters, one creator, and a paint presence. That's it.
Maybe we can do this activity after the break, because my follow-up question would be like, if we ignored contracts, if we ignored who would be on what team, like who are the players that you would put around Sabonis? Because like my mind first is like, if you put like Jaden McDaniels on the wing and Kyrie Irving as your point guard,
right,
that'd be perfect for what Domantas Sabonis wants to do.
Right. And yeah, they ain't getting either of them.
Sure, but it's like that's the archetype of player, right? That's what you're looking for when you're talking about surrounding him with shooters who play defense and then having some sort of playmaking guard that can get to all three levels.
We're going to keep talking about this, but also life is about optics and life is about narratives. The Wizards, they're trying to change the narrative on quote-unquote tanking. Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
Wow, it's you, the Capital One Bank guy.
That's what they call me.
Mind if I get a selfie?
Yeah, sure thing. Say no fees or minimums on your Capital One checking account.
Wow, that's a keeper. So, where are you heading?
I'm off to spread the good news that Capital One helps people keep more money in their wallet with no overdraft fees.
Oh, you're the best Capital One Bank guy.
Hey, mind if I get a selfie?
Sure.
Say, Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sactown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sactown Sports app.
916 says, so basically an Oakland scraper with Malik being the rims, huh? I think that's, yeah, pretty much.
Sure.
Pretty much.
It's a funny way to look at it. Malik Monk was a luxury when they first got him.
He was. He was. And look, he's more than a luxury if he's a starter. I will say that. I don't know how many games you're winning, but he's more than a luxury. He's a necessity. And as a necessity, specifically as a point guard, it didn't work out, right? I don't want to move Malik Monk, but if it makes more sense for your actual starting lineup, then you have to think about it. Because right now, you know what? Funny enough, it kind of reminds me of the A's. Not the same, but it kind of reminds me of the A's as we talked to Eric Martin's third base coach for the A's earlier today, and that's up on social media right now and on the YouTube and, of course, the Sactown Sports app, because the A's really like having Mason Miller. If you're not able to be a part of close games, and they have been, but they've just been on the losing end of them, but you're not winning you're not going into the ninth with the lead, or at the very worst, a tie game, then you don't need an elite closer if you're not in closing situations a lot. If you're not in high-level situations, it's really great that we have a closer, but we're not in games that need to be closed because we're losing. So we might need to move somebody that we don't want to move in order to put ourselves in a position, and you could find a closer that's not Mason Miller, but could do the job. You could find somebody that could do the Malik Monk thing, even though he's not Malik Monk. It's unfortunate, but sometimes you have to look at necessity versus luxury. And in both those situations, my car is barely working. It's in the shop every other week, but my rims is spinning. They spinning. That's a problem. Mason Miller, Malik Monk, they're the rims. They look good. They make you feel good. But you're late for work because your car broke down. Now you're on the side of the road and your rims are spinning and you look crazy. That's kind of what Malik Monk is right now, and I would say Mason Miller as well, to these teams that have issues and problems that they need fixed. That's just what it is right now. Now, if Malik Monk continues to start or gets back into the starting lineup and he turns into a necessity, that's a different conversation. But as a sixth man, when you're trying to build a team that makes sense, I think you have to look at everything, even if I don't want to lose Malik.
Sure. And Malik Monk with Zach LaVine
that's the problem.
It's not a problem. It's just a redundancy that, if you have two of them, it's like, okay, we can make this work. It goes back to that golden rule thing we were talking about back during the regular season. Two of them on the floor together with the right other two players makes sense. I don't think it has a high enough ceiling, having Zach as your number one scoring option and Malik Monk as your number two scoring option in an offense with Sabonis. I don't think that has a high enough ceiling, but it at least makes sense. LaVine and DeRozan, that makes sense when you have Domantas Sabonis at center with the right point guard and potentially wing player, Keegan Murray, whoever you want to put in there, Murray, LaRavia, Lyles, whatever. It makes sense, but three of them doesn't make sense.
No.
Three with the redundant skill sets who don't play great defense. Like you said, Malik Monk's a below average defender. He's not awful, but he's just below average. It doesn't make sense to have the redundancy without one of them staggering when they play.
And even if you move DeRozan, I would have to know who you're moving him for, because why I keep saying, hey, he could re-enter the starting lineup, and that's all fine and good, or Malik Monk. But if it depends on who you're bringing in for DeRozan before I put Malik Monk in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
That I can't. He could be back in the starting lineup, but then I need to know who's replacing DeMar DeRozan, and is this team going to be any good?
Sure, and that's why we've been doing the trade candidates, some of them sending out DeRozan, some of them sending out Malik, trading DeMar for a point guard, trading Malik for a point guard. There's all sorts of different ways to make the roster make sense, because that was the big thing about the interim beam team, right? It just didn't make sense when you have Domantas Sabonis, not a great center, but has incredible rebounding and passing ability. Not a great defensive center, with incredible rebounding and passing abilities. That's kind of the part where the redundant skill sets of the guards stop making sense without the right pieces around them. And even if it does make sense with the right pieces, what is your ceiling on a Zach LaVine, Malik Monk 1-2 punch?
I think it's fun. I think it's fun, but I think you get humbled a lot. I still don't like having both of them on the floor defensively. I really don't.
Yeah,
even if you remove DeMar, unless you got you're bringing in an all-world defender, right? Like you said, a Jaden McDaniels type, and you're still covering up. These dudes these days, they got 3-4 scorers on the squad.
Yeah, because the underlying point to all of this is like, Sabonis is their number one, but in a perfect world, Sabonis is probably a number two on a championship team, because you need that guy to just get a bucket down the stretch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's not to say Sabonis isn't excellent. It's just the very specific skill set along with him that's going to be required is going to make people believe. If you put Jalen Brunson and Sabonis together, even if Sabonis is the more valuable player, most people are going to say Brunson is the best player.
We saw the same thing with De'Aaron Fox.
Exactly, right? It's not that Sabonis is less valuable, because if you look at all the nerd stats, the whole run, Sabonis has been the best player on the Kings, but he's doing rebounding and passing and floor spacing, which is not things that we connotate in our brain with being the quote-unquote number one, unless it's Jokic, who can also do passing like Magic Johnson and score 50 points in a game.
Based on who's left, and we have our predictions coming up on the other side, based on who's left, which teams have to hide more than one guy defensively? Because the only team I can think of is probably the Pacers, and you can't really hide a big man. You don't hide Miles Turner, you just wear it. And they're the best offensive team, you could argue, left in the playoffs as a unit. But all these other teams, Knicks, you're only hiding Brunson.
I mean, Carl's not great.
He's not great, but like I said, big men, you just wear it, right? You can't hide a big man.
Yeah.
Right? Because it is what it is. But the Knicks only hide Brunson. The Timberwolves, I don't know off the top of my head where they hide Conley. Yeah, they hide Mike Conley.
Yeah.
That's who they hide.
But he's not even on the floor all the time.
No. And with the Thunder, I don't think they hide anyone.
No, but Oklahoma City's the best defensive team in the league. Like Minnesota and Oklahoma City are different because they're built on defense.
I'm just bringing this back, but that's part of it too. Defense and dudes. That's literally get the tattoo. Defense and dudes. That's what the championships bring you.
Wings and flats.
Wings and dudes. Because if you look at what we just talked about with the Kings, so you have two guys that aren't elite in Malik Monk and Zach LaVine, and now you're trying to hide two guys. Like I said, now you're hiding two guys on defense with a center who's also not good at defense.
And no wings.
That's a waste of my time. That is a waste of my time.
Yeah, and that's again, you get to different. The Knicks one is going to be really interesting because no team has ever won the championship with as bad of a defense as the New York Knicks this season.
But you keep saying that, but they actually have on-ball defenders.
Sure, but that's because Mikal Bridges was supposed to be great. He sucks at defense.
He does not suck at defense. We're overtime. We'll continue it on the other side.
That one's going to be very interesting to watch play out if they go on a run.
Predictions coming up next. Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
Skeeter here. Got a question. What's small and dark with white bands on its legs and bites during the day?
Mosquitoes. Hi, I'm Luz Maria Robles, but these are two new types of day-biting mosquitoes. They're invading our area and becoming a big problem.
And they can be dangerous.
But we're on it, so when you see them, report it at fightthebite.net. In the meantime, use insect repellent and drain stagnant water around your yard.
We're here to help with these day-biting mosquitoes.
Visit us at fightthebite.net.
Hagen Oaks wants to be your go-to total golf game fitter. Try the TrackMan experience, the very best technology to fit your metalwoods and irons. The new cutting-edge putter fitting studio with its $30,000 worth of technology is ready for your fitting. Hagen Oaks will help you find the best putter for your game. Hagen Oaks offers more technology, more choices, and more service. Schedule your fitting at the Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio by calling 916-808-2531, 808-2531 for more.
The hot weather is coming. Is your HVAC system ready for it? Let Lee's Air Plumbing and Heating make sure it is. Get to Lee'sAirPlumbingandHeating.com. Check out their $99 HVAC tune-up special. And let me tell you why Lee's Air Plumbing and Heating is the way to go. They took care of me when our heater collapsed over the winter, and Lee's set us up with a great new HVAC system that is providing comfort, value, and quality. Let Lee's Air Plumbing and Heating take care of you. License number 635355.
Bring the whole family to Sutter Health Park for Sacramento River Cats baseball. It's more than a game. It's an experience your kids will never forget. Enjoy exciting action on the field, delicious ballpark food, and fun activities for all ages. From meeting Dinger the mascot to running the bases every Sunday, there's something for everyone. Create lasting memories with your family this season. Get your tickets at rivercats.com.
Hello, Sacramento. I'm Emran Pilati, owner of True Sports Cards and Collectible Store here in Rockland, California, and the host of the True Sports Cards Show that airs right here on Sactown Sports 1140 every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m., where we discuss the latest trends, hottest products, and deliver exclusive interviews with other industry leaders. And don't forget to visit our shop, True Sports Cards, at 6661 Stanford Ranch Road in Rockland and see what we have for all your sports card and memorabilia needs.
Come check out Capital Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room with the most variety of table games in the region in a safe and friendly environment. Plenty of well-lit parking available, conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. And remember, Capital Casino has the best food, the best service, and the best action. 411 North 16th Street in downtown Sacramento. For more information, log on to capital-casino.com and please gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Memorial Day is the unofficial beginning of summer and a time to reflect on the blessings we enjoy living in this country. Hi, I'm Frank LaRosa with a word about Naturewood Home Furnishings. At Naturewood's Memorial Day sale, you choose the offer. It's like 2 sales in one. Take 10% off regular prices or get 24 months of no-interest financing with payments on approved credit. Then you can choose from living rooms, sofas, sectionals, dining rooms, bedrooms, home offices, and so much more. Whether you're looking to lighten the mood in your living room, brighten up your bedroom, or tighten up your home office, you can shop and save big on the best selection of quality furniture, including Sacramento's largest selection of furniture made in the USA. Shop the area's best selection of quality furniture at Naturewood Home Furnishings, off Highway 50 at Hazel. Look for that water wheel.
Switch to Comcast Business Mobile and save hundreds a year on your wireless bill. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Restrictions apply. Comcast Business Internet required. Compares 2 unlimited intro lines and lowest price 5G plans of top 3 carriers. Taxes and fees extra. Reduced speeds after 30 gigabytes of usage. Data thresholds may vary.
So you know what? Let's go Timberwolves conference finals. No one's picking it. Timberwolves going on a little
like
run.
He stepped on a Lego. I am not.
Have you done that yet, by the way, Dad?
Her toys, yes. Specifically a Lego, no, because she still has the bigger Legos.
Right.
But once we get the smaller ones, I'm sure it's going to happen.
So yeah, Timberwolves Thunder.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140
on Sacktown Sports.
That's right, Kyle. Take your victory lap. You selected the conference finals correctly.
At the beginning of the playoffs.
I
told everyone it was going to be the Thunder against the
There goes that Lego again.
Minnesota Timberwolves.
There goes that Lego again. Now, real quick, 5-3-0. Speaking, and Whitey popped up on that clip. Whitey will be in for some crosstalk. But speaking of Whitey, 5-3-0 says, is there a young player that will be a star that isn't right now that you would trade any and all for? I don't know about any and all, but I bring up Whitey because he was on this before I was. I know that much. Yeah, Andrew Nembhard is somebody I think I would take a chance on for sure. He's 25 years old. You know, I thought he was one of these smaller guards. He goes about 6'4", 6'5", and he can shoot. He's, you know, he's the number 2 guard out there, obviously, to Tyrese Halliburton. I think the Pacers kind of need him because of how Tyrese Halliburton is. He's still not a volume shooter, so I don't know that he'd be available. But Andrew Nembhard, if you're asking me to take a chance on someone, specifically someone that's not a wing and somebody that might be available, I would take a chance on Andrew Nembhard. For sure.
Yeah. Again, he just got extended. I don't know if Indiana wants to part with him.
It's a great, I'm looking at it now, 18 mil, 19 mil, 20 mil. He's not a young buck per se, but yeah, he's 25 years old now. It's a great deal.
Can I interest you in just TJ McConnell then?
I'll take it, but that
TJ McConnell.
McConnell started. Didn't he have a bad season? Is he starting on the Kings?
Probably not. Well, I don't think he should be, but he had the same number of points per game as Michael Porter in the playoffs. So I guess sure. I don't know. TJ McConnell. I just bring him up.
How old is that guy?
TJ McConnell.
Yeah.
33.
No. God no.
I mean,
not a good deal. He's another Kings killer.
Yeah, I think the reason I just bring him up is that Nembhard is the new TJ McConnell. So if the old TJ McConnell is on his way out, then I don't know, just bring him in as a backup point guard and I don't know, move DeRozan for a wing. I don't know.
Are we just doing that thing where since the Pacers are good, it's just going to be everyone? Now I'm just looking, just 23 years old, 6'6", give me Ben Shepherd. Just give me Ben Shepherd.
Jarris Walker?
Yeah, just give me anybody. Just give me anyone that has had success. Anybody.
We mentioned him earlier, number 42 pick, Thomas Bryant.
Anybody. Now, no. I can't wait now because I'm spinning the block on anybody that says, Allen, what about Obi Toppin? Do not play with me. You know I was on Obi early. So stop playing with me.
I know you still really want. He's playing a little bit for them, but he's not really playing.
No, he's balling. He's balling. Let me see this last game. 20 minutes, 19 minutes, 5 points, 5 and 5. Come on, man. Stop playing with them.
So he's there, Jake LaRavia. Okay. Obi
Yeah, but he can catch between the leg lobs from Tyrese Halliburton.
Yes. Okay. So he's Jake LaRavia with a dunk package.
Honestly, is that so bad? Let's see the game prior to that. Obi, 20. He had 20 in the blowout in game 4. He played 21. Listen to efficiency.
These are minutes, right? These are not points.
No. 21 minutes, 20 points in game 4.
Okay.
Stop playing with Obi. He's just a do-it-all guy. I tried to tell you guys.
5'7", 7'5", 25. Yeah.
And Ben Shepherd at 14. Give me both of them and TJ. And TJ.
And Jarris Walker.
Anybody that has seen the promised land.
Anyone who played with Tyrese Halliburton, you can come to the Sacramento
Since we
Kings.
can't have Tyrese back, just give us anyone who's shared the floor with them. All right, Kyle. Let's get into our predictions. Well, you go first. It's like you hit a birdie in golf. So you go first since you correctly predicted the conference finals. You go first.
Sure. Since I'm such a genius who told you exactly what was going to happen.
That's right.
So I am going to show respect to the best team in the league, Oklahoma City, but I am going to make this point. Across NBA history, historically, the team that has done the hard losing, been to the conference finals, made a trade to reinvent their roster, that is the team that traditionally beats the up-and-comer who's never been to the conference finals, has the youngest team in the league. Historically speaking, this would be the point where Minnesota beats Oklahoma City in the same way that last year, remember when Vince Goodwill asked Carl and Anthony Edwards, like, hey, you've never been to a conference finals. You're going up against a battle-tested team like Luka. Usually you have to lose before you can win. And they were like, we've already done all this losing. Ha, ha, ha. And then they got smoked out by the Mavericks. Historically, this would be the point where the Timberwolves, the team that's done the hard losing, beats the young up-and-comer number 1 seed. I'm going to show respect to Oklahoma City because they are a historically good regular season team and I think can be the anomaly. But will point out that Minnesota should win this series if NBA history is any precursor. So I'm going to say Thunder in 7.
Okay.
While showing as much respect to the Timberwolves as I can, because I think they have a real good shot in this series.
I think we saw some cracks in the armor from OKC, and honestly, says more about Jokic and I guess Aaron Gordon than it does about the Nuggets as a whole, as to how they even got this far and taking the Thunder to Game 7. So with that being said, the Timberwolves is one of the classic situations. OKC's been the best team. Timberwolves have been the hottest team for a while. I mean, going back into March. So I'm going to rock with the Timberwolves. I think that it might just be their season. I mean, Julius Randle, whoever, I know the Thunder defensively are dogs, but I think that what they did offensively worries me against a better defensive team in the Timberwolves.
Yes, that's the bigger point, is both of these teams are great deep. I also want to make the point also, I think whoever wins this series is going to win the championship. Mm-hmm. I think doesn't matter whether it's Minnesota or OKC. The winner of this series will win the NBA Finals.
Okay.
But both these teams are elite defensive teams. How does that look for Oklahoma City, who I'm thinking all the way back now. So they've played New Orleans, Dallas, Memphis, and Denver in the playoffs with this core. They've never played a top 10 defense for a 7-game series.
Yeah.
Again, I want to pick Minnesota. I'm proud of you for going out and picking Minnesota, but I have to respect a team that I just saw beat the Nuggets by basically 50.
I got Wolves in 6.
Yeah, I'm going to go Thunder in 7.
Yeah, I think if you're picking the team with home court, it's easier to go 7. Just like if I were to pick the Thunder, I'd probably go 7. both of these teams can win on the road for sure. I just feel like the Timberwolves, they did it in LA. They've had to win on the road more because they're the 6th seed. So they're kind of used to it at this point.
There's also the crazy stat that like in the parity era of the NBA, the last 13 game 7s, the road team has actually won 8 of them. Mm-hmm. Just kind of a weird thing that's happened is like, home court advantage in game 7 isn't as prominent as you think because what usually happens is the 1 seed Phoenix Suns just choke and lose by 40.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's if the home game, the home team wins are probably mostly blowouts. If you can avoid the blowout, then the pressure flips and home team can struggle a bit. All right, we got to do the Eastern Conference quickly. I'll go first. I'm going to rock with. I'm just going to go with the Knicks. I think that this is what the NBA wants. I think that, the Pacers have been hot. Do I trust that they will stay that hot against, again, Kyle, you can say that they're not a good defensive team, but I think that their defense plays up in the playoffs, and we've seen that so far. OG, you have Mikal Bridges, and obviously Jalen Brunson doing this thing, and Josh Hart's a good defender. I got the Knicks. And I got the Knicks in. They got home court too. I'll do Knicks in 6.
I'll go Knicks in 6 also, although I don't feel good about either direction. I don't want to disrespect. My thing is I'm scared to pick against Tyrese Halliburton at this point. I'm just tired of picking against Tyrese and being wrong every time. So I'm going to say Knicks in 6 because it's the safest one. I'm done betting against Tyrese Halliburton.
Whitey Gleason's just getting started, and he joins us on the other side. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers. T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/55 to learn more. With 24 monthly bill credits and 2 new lines with autopay for well-qualified customers plus taxes, fees, and $35 per line connection charge. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. Contact us plus $5 per line without autopay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Water. It's more than just a word. It's morning routines, backyard memories, and everything in between. At Roseville Environmental Utilities, we're not just managing water, we're protecting it. Smart planning, conservation, innovation. We make every drop count for today and tomorrow. Let's keep the promise together. Find out how you can help at roseville.ca.us/water promise. Roseville Environmental Utilities. Water. It's not just a word. It's our promise.
At Big O Tires, now through Memorial Day, get $80 to $120 instant savings on 4 select in-stock Cooper, Nexen, Nitto, or Sumitomo brand tires with installation purchase. Disposal fees extra, not good with other offers. See your locally owned Big O Tires store for pricing.
Live and local.
It's Allen Stiles
on Sacktown Sports.
One more segment with you, then we turn the keys over to Whitey Gleason, Kyle Draper, Jay Johnson with the Drive guys.
Listen, I almost wore my Foo Fighters shirt today. I would have if I'd known you're going to play.
I told you. You didn't text me back. I told you.
It's like that commercial with Shea and Williams and Holmgren, right?
At least it's better. At least it's not as loud and obnoxious as the one from last season when they were singing the whole time.
Right.
That one. That one. Was
what
rough.
A pro wants. What a pro needs.
It was terrible. Why do we don't talk a ton of Niners in crosstalk?
49ers?
Yeah, the 49ers. Brock Purdy. A lot of people have gone back and forth with the deal. I saw somebody yesterday said that Brock Purdy should have got more of a Baker Mayfield deal. I just don't understand where people get this stuff. And I'm not sitting here as the biggest Brock Purdy fan in the world. I think his disrespect is a little overblown, but then I see stuff like that and I think, okay, maybe the disrespect isn't a little overblown. You had no problems with the deal, did you?
No, I thought it was great just that they got it done. Mayfield's deal, by the way, is phenomenal for
and I think that's part of it, right? Mayfield is his contract. He's worth more than that. So you saying, well, Brock should have signed that deal means that Brock isn't worth more than that when Baker Mayfield, if everyone had known, if everyone knew what Baker was going to do with the Bucs, he would have been able to command more money.
I saw something really interesting today. May I share it? And it relates to what you're talking about. Maybe you saw it. There was an excerpt in The Athletic from Mike Silver's new book about the 49ers. And he shared a story of right when it looked like, wow, Trey Lance is not working out. This was right before Purdy actually came, brought in Jimmy. So Mike Silver says he was talking to Shanahan and talked to him about, accuracy. And this is what Shanahan told him. So this was right the year Brock Purdy took over, but the season hadn't started yet. He said, quarterbacks, there's too many obstacles and you can't put too much on their plate. He felt asking the quarterback to do everything, to be the primary driving force whose actions determine victory and defeat, is typically not a winning strategy. I'm not saying he's right. But it's interesting. This is the way Shanahan looks at it. And it explains a lot when you realize this. He referenced the previous January's playoff victory over Matt LaFleur and the Packers at Lambeau, how much of Green Bay's operation revolved around Aaron Rodgers. And Shanahan said, that's why they don't win. He also said Peyton Manning had suffered a slew of postseason disappointments during his career. He says there are too many variables you have to deal with that are difficult to predict. He talked about Belichick's strategy for stopping Peyton Manning and the Patriots playoff victories. So he says it's too much on one guy. There can be bad weather, injuries, so many things. The only quarterback who has ever been able to handle all of it, in my opinion, is Tom. For anyone else, you need to give him some help, end quote. So that's the way Shanahan looks at the quarterback position.
Right.
He's not looking for somebody that can, all right, lead us to victory. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's all on you. He doesn't want that guy.
But that's also, the Trey Lance pick, because he's never wanted that guy. That's why Trey Lance never made sense to me. And what you just said doesn't surprise me at all, because that's kind of what people have said. And now they've kind of used it in a negative way to say Shanahan wants to be the genius, but we've all kind of seen that before.
It's been patently obvious.
Right. And I think this past season, we spent some time on Christian McCaffrey today and just using him out of the backfield more, I should say, as a receiver and motion and things like that. But I think last season, Shanahan is going to use it towards that discussion to say, hey, Brock, I know there was no Ayuk. I know there was no Christian McCaffrey. So now there was a little bit too much hero ball and you didn't play as well. You weren't in the MVP conversations last season. So he can use that to say, let's go back to how we were doing things. Like when you let, your kid or whoever go out and do something on their own and say, all right, now you can come back and say, all right, you were right.
Yeah.
You were right. So I'm not surprised by that, but that's a really good note.
Yeah, because you have so many fans that say, Brock can't do everything like everybody else. And the coach is like, I don't want our quarterback to be the guy that has to do all that.
Which actually lends itself, and it used to be a crazy conversation, but I know I've argued it, and we've talked about it before. Would Kyle Shanahan like Josh Allen? Obviously, he would want Josh Allen. He wants the talent, but hey, and Josh Allen this season was a bit more control, but the Lamars and the Josh Allens, Shanahan, I don't really like that. Sounds crazy.
I know. You're supposed to throw them.
It sounds crazy. I honestly think that's kind of how he feels. We had Keith Smith on the show today, and he was great.
Yeah.
No wonder you guys have kind of just hoarded him on your show. But
yeah, that's the last time you're having him.
No, I guarantee it. So we got our money's worth out of that one. Feel really good about Jake LaRavia. Okay, he talked about Jake LaRavia. If you can, unless somebody prices him out at $10 million, whatever it is, if you can get him on, he says the path to keeping Jake LaRavia, 2-year deal, about $10.5 million. He
I'm not
opts out.
seeing it. I heard you guys talking about it, and I've talked to him about it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand how it could work, but I don't see how he's going to say, yeah, I'm going to stay there, and then maybe in 2 years I'll get more money from the Kings, unless he really loves it.
It's the market, though. We don't know who else is somebody going to put 3 years, $30 million on his table. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about that. Keon Ellis as well, and they'll probably decline and just go straight into a new contract with him, or see what happens in restricted free agency, which Kyle said that could even get it's just not as dicey as unrestricted free agency, but a lot of, you got TPEs, MLEs, CEOs. There's a lot of different things that the
CEOs.
Yeah, no, they get involved, Whitey, and a lot can happen.
The MCs.
Okay? The MCs of the River Kitties. There's a lot of things that can happen, Whitey.
Sure.
So there we go. There's the sounder.
Who is the most tradable Kings player on the roster right now, in your opinion?
Off the top of my
and just
head,
forget everything about, well, I wouldn't want to trade him, or, I could get this. Who's the most tradable player on the
Domantas Sabonis.
Is it him, or it's either
him
or
Malik
or Malik or Keegan, don't you think?
Sure. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Because whoever trades for him would extend him. I would say those three.
Yeah, because don't you think Scott Perry right now is, I don't know that he wants to trade anybody, but he's got to look at all that, right? He's got to look at, just go down coldly and, what can I get for this guy? What can I get for this guy?
Well, we finally did the Kuminga conversation, which we've alluded to a couple different times, and that's up on YouTube right now. My whole thing with the Kuminga situation is, I'll take Johnathan Kuminga.
How are you going to get him?
It was very simple. It's a Malik Monk sign and trade.
They also have to add a first-round pick.
I don't know if they need a first-round pick.
They probably do.
Low level. Just missed the play-in again. And to me, I would do it.
I'm out on Kuminga.
I know you are. I would do it if we're all of the understanding that you're probably not going to be very good, and Zach LaVine gets cleared out in 2 years, and which might not even be the case because they might extend him to have a lower annual value. Domantas Sabonis, maybe we see how it works, and he says, okay, a couple more years. So I convinced myself yes, but I was initially no, because that's not going to get the Kings anywhere. I don't think those timelines add up. Then I flipped to yes because, well, what the hell are the Kings doing anyway? So I ended on yes, even though I could see both sides, and I was initially no based on if you're trying to do some things right now, but a lot of people are just feeling like, well, what are they doing?
You haven't done and I saw this tossed around on the internet. You haven't done Westbrook, have you? You're not.
No, we haven't. I don't
Thank
want
you.
someone to throw tomatoes.
He's a point guard. Thank you. Bless you for not doing that.
Well, now we might have to. Don't tempt me with a good time. I just don't personally want to get into the Westbrook business.
I don't either.
I think he had a great season with the Nuggets, but I think people are kind of seeing that as he's got the worst PR in the league, by the way. We were joking about that. Worst PR in the league. But I just think a lot of people, and because of that, a lot of people are going to look at the season as an outlier and not, oh, he's back.
Yeah.
He's back. Okay.
Did you see the reporter asked him, do you know if you're going to re-up? And he looked at his watch and he said, do you know what you're wearing tomorrow? And the reporter said, no. And he said, exactly.
Yeah. And then left.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
I like that.
I like that.
He made his point.
He hasn't worked. He's had messy exits in the last 8 places he's been. This one should be fine.
Ramona Shelburne. Had that piece.
No one knows the context
Ramona
of
Shelburne.
that.
She wrote a hit piece on him.
We did one segment on that last week, and you just expected
People
everyone to know what it was.
I don't think that was a hit piece. It was certainly critical, but a reporter's job is not to make friends. It's to tell the truth.
But why not? Okay, they're done. Fine.
Yeah.
But why then? Why you're not? The season is not done. Why are we talking about this?
Because so much rode on him for Denver, and he's so mercurial. You don't know what
all these negatives, and then how did she end it, Kyle?
And they wouldn't have gotten here without him.
Yeah.
But I made the point that, to your point, Whitey, she is well within her journalistic right to put that story out there and tell it. And at the same time, it was almost unnecessarily critical of Russell Westbrook. It got to a point where it was a little bit unfair, which I think is in part because, Ramona Shelburne's got all the Lakers connections, and the Lakers hate Russell Westbrook.
That's right.
They hate him.
So what's up on the show today?
Today?
Yeah.
Today, Rick Kamla is going to be with us. Do you know Rick Kamla? Yeah, he used to be on Sirius XM, basketball guy. So we're looking forward to that. And also today, looking forward to running down the y'all rookie team and seeing where the Kings, did they miss on any of these guys?
Couple. I wouldn't count Jalen Wells. That's found money, but and Yves Missi. We also we spent some time on just what the all rookie teams even mean. I always reference Michael Carter Williams being rookie of the year. And how long was he in the league after that? He probably bounced around for about 5 years.
I think it was
maybe got to 7.
He was on that Bucks team that lost to the Raptors in 2019.
Yeah, and so what we gathered from it is that most of the time, if you make that team, you can play in the NBA. It doesn't mean that you're going to be a star or anything like that, but if you make your all-rookie team, unless it's just a terrible draft, it means that you will probably be an NBA player for a while.
Right.
What that level means, I don't know.
Yeah, still a lot to determine about all these guys.
Whitey Gleason.
Should have got Stephon Castle, but oh well.
Hey, he's untouchable now. Whitey Gleason, Kyle Draper, Jay Johnson. Thank you to Coach Eric Martins. Thank you to Keith Smith from Spotrac. Kyle Ledbetter, great job as always.
When are the A's going to win another game, Allen?
I don't know. That's 6. That's 6 now. 6 losses. Yeah. Gotta go. Oh, that's what Kyle normally plays. Until tomorrow, secure the bag, light the beam.
All right.
Don't forget my podcast.
Gotta go.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life in your RV,